Chapter 198. The wind and clouds changed color. Under the influence of this unparalleled power, even the stars in the sky seemed to be on the verge of collapsing. A destructive aura enveloped all living beings within a radius of 10,000 miles. Even the many experts who were watching the battle outside could feel the power of the awakened Alcade Cauldron. Their bodies trembled and they were on the verge of collapsing. They almost fell out of the sky. The supreme power on the Alcade Cauldron only needed to leak a little bit. It could instantly suppress everyone present. This was the power of a supreme weapon. Domineering. Powerful. It could suppress any existence. In the 3,000 worlds, if a supreme being did not appear, no immortal would descend. No one could resist the power of a supreme weapon. At this moment, Tao Xian, who was standing inside the protective array, saw the Alcade sacred leader take out the Alcade Cauldron. His eyes narrowed as a bad feeling rose in his heart. He knew it. At this moment, the crisis of the Langya sacred ground had truly arrived. The battle between the sacred grounds was never decided by the immortal realm. The only thing that could decide the outcome was a supreme weapon. The power of a supreme weapon was enough to make up for the lack of cultivation. Looking at the Alcade Cauldron that had already enveloped the entire Langya sacred ground, Tao Xian's expression was extremely solemn. At this moment he could not directly take out his supreme weapon. Otherwise, the Langya sacred ground would be destroyed directly. No one could predict the aftermath of the collision between the two supreme weapons. However, Tao Xian firmly believed that the supreme power could easily destroy the entire Langya sacred ground. Moreover, Tao Xian was very clear. The five forces would definitely not only bring one supreme weapon. If he took out his supreme weapon early, the true essence in his body would be depleted very quickly. Even Tao Xian could not withstand the amount of true essence required to activate a supreme weapon. At this moment, Tao Xian could only personally take over the control of the protective array. With his strength, the power of the array would be greatly increased. This might be able to last for a while. After all, the energy required by a supreme weapon was too great. Even the sacred ground could not maintain it for long. Of course, if the two supreme weapons met, the two supreme auras would collide. Then, the supreme artifact would automatically awaken without the support of external energy. However, this was what Tao Xian was most worried about. This was also one of the reasons why he was unwilling to use Jizun at this moment. When the two supreme weapons met, a great battle between two supreme weapons would erupt. At that time, no one could predict what would happen. Therefore, Tao Xian could only take measures to prevent the two supreme weapons from clashing. Although Tao Xian's idea was good, he had underestimated the power of a supreme weapon. After the Alcade Cauldron awakened, its power was so terrifying that it made one despair. Hanging high in the sky, the supreme power descended, suppressing the entire void below. A vast supreme being aura poured down from the sky. Even if it was Tao Profound deploying the protective grand array at this moment, he similarly felt a tremendous pressure too. This was the power of a supreme weapon. It was the continuation of a supreme honorable's battle prowess after his death. Moreover, the array formation left behind by the Lord Langya. It only had the power of protection. How could it withstand the attack of a supreme weapon? It seems that the Holy Lord Langya can't withstand it. After all, it's a supreme weapon. It's already a miracle that he can withstand it for so long with the array formation. Is the Langya sacred ground going to be destroyed today? Many of the surrounding experts sighed when they saw this scene. At their level, they naturally understood. Without the supreme power, it was impossible to resist a supreme weapon. Tao Xian, let's see how long you can withstand it. Seeing that Tao Xian could withstand his Alcade Cauldron with only the array formation, the Holy Lord Langya's expression turned ugly. The Alcade Sacred Lord's face turned ugly. In the next moment, he increased the amount of vital essence he was channeling. He did his best to awaken the Alcade Cauldron. Buzz buzz. As the Holy Lord increased the true core strength, the Alcade Cauldron let out a vast sound. The sound was filled with an ancient aura and it resounded in everyone's heart. In the next moment, endless divine light shone from the Alcade Cauldron and shrouded the entire space. Endless pressure suddenly swept across the entire area. Even the essence energy in the universe seemed to be wiped out. Bang! At that moment, the Alcade Cauldron in the sky suddenly let out a loud roar. In the next moment, the Alcade Cauldron actually fell slowly. An extremely powerful oppressive force pressed down on the ground. Under the pressure, the entire ground seemed to be sinking. In the Langya sacred ground. At that moment, the 7 hall masters and elders who were hovering in the void suddenly turned pale. In the next moment, everyone spat out a mouthful of blood. Boom. In the void, the Alcade Cauldron let out another roar. At the same time, an extremely secretive fluctuation swept out in all directions. Seeing this scene, Dao Yen turned pale with fright, a look of urgency on his face. Not good. Crack. At that moment, a crack appeared on the light shield that had been covering the Langya sacred ground. Then more and more cracks appeared. Until it cracked. The protective array was finally broken. In the next moment, the supreme power of the Alcade Cauldron directly shrouded all the Langya disciples. Feeling the overwhelming pressure, countless disciples trembled. Their faces instantly turned as pale as gold paper, and some even spat out blood. The supreme power was not something that the Langya disciples with low cultivation could withstand. Even the immortal realm giants were greatly affected. Not to mention these ordinary disciples. Although the supreme weapon's power did not directly affect them. Even if it was the aftermath, it was also something that they could not withstand. Ha ha ha. In the void, the Alcade sacred leader activated the Alcade Cauldron and laughed wildly. Tao Xian, back then, you used the supreme weapon to suppress the Alcade sacred ground. Have you ever thought that today's disaster would happen? The true origin energy in his body erupted. Under his control, the Alcade Cauldron continued to shine brightly. At that moment, the Alcade sacred leader displayed his peerless power. With the supreme weapon in his hand, he could be said to be an invincible existence. Even the strongest person present, Demon King Jiao, could not compare to his unparalleled demeanor. Sensing everyone's respect for him, the Alcade sacred leader felt a sense of pride and heroism. Speaking of which, this was also the first time he had awakened his supreme weapon. At that moment, the Alcade sacred leader took another step forward. For a moment, the mountains and rivers shook violently, and the world seemed to be about to collapse. This was the power of the supreme weapon. Invincible. Domineering. Unbeatable. Facing this power, the Langya disciples and even the elders who had lost the protection of the protective array were all forced to retreat. Their bodies kept retreating and they could not help but tremble. All the disciples and elders were retreating, and their bodies were trembling. Some disciples could not withstand the pressure and directly knelt down. These people could not withstand the supreme weapon's power at all. Presumptuous. Seeing this scene, Tao Xian's face was extremely gloomy, and he immediately shouted. In the next moment, a peerless painting slowly unfolded behind him. In this scroll, there were all kinds of rivers, great rivers, high mountains, flowing water, and the rotation of stars. It was the supreme weapon of the Langya sacred ground, the Langya mountain and river painting. At this moment, Tao Xian finally took out the Lord of Langya's weapon. The moment the Langya mountain and river painting appeared, all the Langya sacred ground disciples felt their bodies relax. The boundless pressure that had been on them previously disappeared instantly. In the void, the Langya mountain and river painting hovered above the 9 heavens. Above it, there was endless divine light flowing, and it enveloped the entire Langya sacred ground. The Langya mountain and river painting actually blocked the power of the Alcade Cauldron from the outside world. Of course, the Langya mountain and river painting had not been completely awakened by Tao Xian at this moment. Otherwise, the Langya sacred ground would not be so peaceful at this moment. At this moment, Tao Xian was standing above the void. Behind him was the supreme weapon. The eyes of the Alcade sacred master shot out a ray of golden light. Dao Yen, in the end you still took out your supreme weapon. The Alcade sacred master spoke with a smile on his face. Unlike the previous time at the Alcade sacred ground, the Alcade sacred master was not afraid of Tao Xian, who was holding the supreme weapon. Because this time he had also taken out his supreme weapon. Moreover, it was not the Alcade sacred ground below, but the Langya sacred ground. Once the two supreme weapons collided, it was hard to tell who would win. Moreover, the Langya sacred ground would be the one to suffer. The power of the supreme weapon could possibly destroy the entire Langya sacred ground. Moreover, even if he lost, the Alcade sacred master was not afraid at all. At this moment, there were still the 4 great forces standing behind him. Isn't this what you want to see? Tao Xian said calmly as he looked coldly at the Alcade sacred master. At this moment, he could see that the 5 great forces were willing to destroy the Langya sacred ground at all costs. Therefore Tao Xian had nothing to say. He could only fight. At this moment, Tao Xian no longer had any scruples in his heart. So what if the supreme weapon had awakened on its own? So what if the eastern wilderness was facing a disaster? As the Holy Lord of Langya, even the Langya sacred ground was about to be destroyed. How could he care so much? Tao Xian, I didn't expect you to end up like this. The Azure Cloud Sacred Master, the Sacred Master of Luotian, and the others slowly walked out from behind the Alcade Sacred Master. At this moment, Demon King Jiao and the Master of Fairy Fox smirked. Since the defense had been broken, what was next was a massacre. Alright, there's no need for us to waste our breath on him. Since he's determined to protect the holy son of Haotian, who has fallen into the demon path, we don't have to be polite. Demon King Jiao stared coldly at Tao Xian with his golden eyes and announced in front of everyone, the Langius sacred ground has committed a heinous crime and is no longer worthy of being the human sacred ground. At this moment, Demon King Jiao's goal was clear. Destroy the Langius sacred ground and kill the holy son of Haotian. Of course, Tao Xian was also very clear about this. At this moment, he carried the Langia landscape painting on his back, and his expression did not change at all. In the next moment, Tao Xian looked at all the disciples of the Langia sacred ground and said sternly, all disciples of the Langia sacred ground, listen up. At this moment, Tao Xian's aura was incomparably powerful. Standing in the void, Tao Xian shouted, follow me to protect the sacred ground and the reputation of the Holy Sun. In the void, Tao Xian's voice rang out. It slowly spread throughout the entire Langia sacred ground. This voice was full of power and dominance. It made the Langia disciples, who were originally afraid of the supreme weapon, regain their confidence. All the Langia disciples slowly raised their heads and looked up at the supreme weapon in the void. Their eyes were filled with unparalleled determination. After that, all of the Langia's disciples spoke in unison. Protect the sacred ground and the reputation of the Holy Sun. Protect the sacred ground and the reputation of the Holy Sun. Protect the sacred ground and the reputation of the Holy Sun. At this moment, none of the Langia disciples chose to escape. They all straightened their backs. In the face of the pressure from the 5 superpowers, they chose to face death with equanimity. The onlookers and the 5 superpowers looked at each other. When they saw this scene, their faces revealed a wisp of extreme shock. They never expected the disciples of the Langia sacred ground to be so united. When the higher-ups of the 3 Eastern Wilderness sacred grounds, including the Qingyun sacred ground, Yaoguang sacred ground, and Luotian sacred ground saw this scene, they could not help but be shocked. They could not help but wonder if they were faced with the same crisis. How many disciples in their sacred ground would be willing to fight alongside the sacred ground? There were probably not many people who were willing to live and die with the sacred ground. At this moment, the Luotian sacred leader and the Qingyun sacred leader narrowed their eyes at this scene. Such unity. The Langia sacred ground could be said to have great potential. It seemed that the Langia sacred ground could not be left alive. The sacred grounds of the Eastern Wilderness were collectively known as the 7 sacred grounds of the human race. However, the 7 sacred grounds were also scheming against each other. Everyone was a sacred ground. Who would be willing to submit to others? At this moment, they witnessed the terrifying unity of the Langia sacred ground. They were even more determined to find a way to destroy the Langia sacred ground. Boom. At this moment, the Alcade sacred leader activated the Alcade cauldron again. Without hesitation, he directly injected a large amount of his true origin into the Alcade cauldron. Rumble. In the next moment, the Alcade cauldron released a vast amount of power. Every inch of the cauldron seemed to be deified. It was extremely terrifying. Seeing this scene, Tao Xian naturally did not want to be outdone. Since the other party insisted on using the supreme weapon, he naturally had no other choice. He could only accompany them to the end. Then, he injected the terrifying true origin directly into the Langia Mountain River illustration. Boom. Then, another supreme weapon began to awaken. Seeing this, the surrounding experts who were watching retreated once again. This was a battle between 2 supreme weapons. Such a terrifying scene caused them to be extremely shocked. How many years had it been? The Eastern Wilderness had not been so turbulent for a long time. At this moment, the 2 supreme weapons in the void completely awakened. Rumble. At this moment, the Alcade cauldron and the Langia Mountain River illustration shone with a shocking light. Then, the Alcade cauldron and the Langia Mountain River illustration broke away from the control of Tao Xian and the Alcade sacred leader. As they were both supreme weapons, they naturally felt the supreme aura of the other party. Every supreme weapon that was born was imprinted with the supreme aura of a supreme being. Every single supreme being was an invincible existence in the world. How could such an existence tolerate someone with the same level of strength as them? At this moment, the 2 supreme weapons had awakened on their own. Tao Xian and the Alcade sacred leader's eyes lit up. Both parties took a step forward at the same time. In an instant, the 2 of them and the supreme weapons turned into terrifying divine light and disappeared. Heaven and earth shook. Chapter 199. After the Alcade Sacred Leader and the Holy Lord of Langia left, a series of explosions could be heard in the sky. Seeing this scene, the spectators all heaved a sigh of relief. They understood that the Holy Lord of Langia and the Alcade Sacred Leader were unwilling to see the Eastern Wilderness suffer. Thus, they had reached an agreement to head to the extraterritorial region to fight. Otherwise, when the Supreme Weapons fought, the Supreme Weapons' supreme force would sweep across the surroundings. The entire Eastern Wilderness would be smashed into pieces. After all, there were other holy lands in the Eastern Wilderness. If the Eastern Wilderness was shattered, the other sacred grounds would not be able to protect themselves. Moreover, the power of a supreme artifact was extremely terrifying. It was very likely that it would affect other supreme artifacts. If all the supreme weapons in the Eastern Wilderness were to awaken on their own, then, it would cause a chaotic battle between the supreme weapons. By then, it would not be just a disaster in the Eastern Wilderness. The entire martial god continent would be affected. It would be a terrifying disaster for the entire martial god continent. At this moment, the Alcade Sacred Leader and the Holy Lord of Langia held their supreme weapons and started an earth-shattering battle in the extraterritorial region. Instantly, a series of explosions could be heard. From time to time, endless divine power would descend from the sky. Under the pressure of this power, all the martial artists felt that they were insignificant, just like ordinary people. They could be annihilated at any time. At this moment, the battle between the supreme weapons was also happening in the extraterritorial region. This was a supreme weapon. It was the continuation of the strongest supreme weapon's power. In the face of such power, how many people could maintain their composure? Although the protective array had been destroyed, the 5 superpowers were not in a hurry to kill the disciples of the Langia sacred ground. Everyone knew in their hearts that the outcome of today's battle would ultimately depend on the supreme artifact. If the Holy Lord of Langia won, the Langia sacred ground would be saved. However, if the Alcade Sacred Leader won, the Langia sacred ground would cease to exist in the future. In short, the final result of this battle it would depend on the victory of the 2 peak-level experts. At this moment, everyone was paying attention to the battle. The Holy Lord of Langia and the Alcade Sacred Leader were fighting in the extraterritorial region. Although no one could see the details of the battle. However, from time to time, the aura that spread down from the sky caused everyone's heart to tremble. Who would emerge victorious in this battle? Just like that, as both sides waited anxiously, time passed quickly. During this time, the elders and disciples of the Langia sacred ground all looked up at the sky. They were very worried, anxiously waiting for the outcome of the battle between the 2 holy masters. Boom. After waiting for an unknown period of time, a shocking rumble suddenly resounded in the sky. Hearing this voice, the hearts of everyone below trembled. Then endless light and supreme power fell from the sky. Everyone was in disbelief when they sensed this supreme power. This was the aura of Langia's landscape painting. This great battle. The Holy Lord of Langia had won. The Holy Lord of Langia actually won. No, that's the aura of the Holy Lord Langia. He's actually at the immortal and undying level. How is this possible? How can he be so strong? You have to know that a battle between supreme weapons also requires energy to support it. The Alcade Sacred Leader's strength is only at the immortal and creator level. The Alcade Sacred Leader has lost this battle. In the outside world of the Holy Lord of Langia, some holy masters were hiding in the void. When this aura appeared, they realized that it was the aura of the Holy Lord of Langia. When this aura neared, everyone below also realized that it was Tao Xian's aura. No one expected that the winner of this battle would be Tao Xian. Moreover, the Holy Lord of Langia, who had always kept a low profile, had actually reached the immortal and undying level unknowingly. One had to know that in the eyes of all the warriors in the Eastern Wilderness, there were only 2 people who had reached this level. They were the Kunlun Sacred Leader and the Linglong Sacred Leader. As for the other sacred leaders, they were probably only at the immortal and creator level. However, Tao Xian, the ordinary Holy Lord of Langia, had actually broken through to the immortal and undying level without anyone noticing. It was true that one could amaze the world with a single brilliant feat. The strength of a supreme weapon was naturally closely related to the cultivation of the user. As an immortal and undying level expert, Tao Xian could naturally provide more energy to the Langia Mountain River painting. In this battle, the Langia Mountain River painting had definitely suppressed the Alcade Cauldron. Seeing this scene, many people already thought that, after this battle, the Langia sacred ground should be fine. When the elders and disciples of the Langia sacred ground saw that Tao Xian had won, they heaved a sigh of relief. Looking at Tao Xian's unparalleled figure, they were extremely excited. The sacred leader was actually at the immortal and undying level. He was at the same level as the Linglong sacred leader. This time, as long as the sacred leader was around, the Langya sacred ground would be fine. At the same time, the two supreme weapons in the extraterritorial region were emitting boundless divine light. As they collided, the enormous power generated from the collision crushed over 100 huge stars. Hundreds of millions of meteorites were destroyed in the battle between the two supreme weapons. At this moment, the Alcate sacred leader couldn't hold on any longer. In the next moment, his face turned pale and he spat out a mouthful of blood. He looked at Tao Xian in disbelief. Obviously, he couldn't believe that Tao Xian had such strength. When the surrounding people saw this scene, they were shocked. Today, the five forces had suppressed the Langya sacred ground. Were they going to return empty-handed? Alcate sacred leader, you're just SOSO. In the sky, Tao Xian shouted and increased the input of energy. Alcate sacred leader instantly looked even more miserable and he was about to lose. However, just as the Alcate sacred leader was about to lose, among the five forces, the Azure Cloud sacred leader slowly stood out. The Azure Cloud sacred leader took a step forward. At the same time, a shocking aura was emitted from his body. Everyone was shocked when they felt the aura. It was the aura of a supreme weapon. Another supreme weapon was about to be awakened. At this moment, the Azure Cloud sacred leader was standing in the sky. Behind him, a divine cauldron was floating slowly. On the divine cauldron, there was an oppressive aura that swept out in all directions. There were thousands of mythical beasts engraved on the cauldron and a vast aura was exuding. The divine cauldron was as dazzling as the real sun. A powerful force surged out from it. There were divine flames surrounding it and the heat was as though it could melt everything in the universe. It was a divine cauldron. It was the Tao weapon of the founder of the Azure Cloud Sacred Ground, the Azure Cloud Sovereign. The Azure Cloud Universe Furnace. Back then, the Azure Cloud Sovereign relied on this divine cauldron to become a supreme. The power of the Azure Cloud Universe Furnace wasn't any weaker than the Langya Mountain River painting and the Alcate Cauldron. When they saw the Azure Cloud Universe Furnace floating in the sky, everyone's face turned pale. When the elders and disciples of the Langya Sacred Ground saw this, their faces turned pale again. They thought that this battle would end with the Holy Lord of Langya's victory. However, they didn't expect the Azure Cloud Sacred Leader to take out another supreme weapon at this crucial moment. Could it be that the Langya Sacred Ground was going to be destroyed today? As expected, the five forces came prepared when they attacked the Langya Sacred Ground. They came prepared. Since one supreme weapon couldn't suppress the Langya Sacred Ground, they used two supreme weapons. I think there might be another supreme weapon. The spectating experts discussed among themselves. They were also shocked when the Azure Cloud Sacred Leader took out the Azure Cloud Universe Furnace. They didn't expect the five forces to be willing to use two supreme weapons in order to destroy the Langya Sacred Ground. Now, two supreme weapons were attacking the Langya Sacred Ground. This was simply bullying with numbers. If it was a one-on-one battle, none of the forces in the Wuxian continent could destroy the Langya Sacred Ground. Tao Xian was an immortal realm expert. Even if someone could pose a threat to him, however, it was extremely difficult to take his life. However, now that the two supreme weapons were used, the Langya Sacred Ground was really in danger. After taking out the Azure Cloud Universe Furnace, the Azure Cloud Sacred Leader slowly floated in the sky above the Langya Sacred Ground. Looking at the disciples of the Langya Sacred Ground below, he smiled mysteriously. In the next moment he turned into a ray of light. He carried the Azure Cloud Universe Furnace and soared into the sky to join the battle outside the region. In an instant, an aura that could destroy the world suddenly poured down on the ground. Everyone's face turned pale. Even though the battle was outside the region, the aftershock that poured out allowed them to experience the power of a supreme weapon. At this moment, the elders and disciples of the Langya Sacred Ground were in despair. They didn't expect the five forces to be so shameless. If it was a one-on-one battle, their sacred leader would lose. All the disciples of the Langya Sacred Ground were speechless. But now the other party had used two supreme weapons. Moreover, it was 2 against 1. Two people at the level of a sacred leader attacked their sacred leader. How could their sacred leader be a match for them? Rumble. At this moment there was another explosion in the sky. The astral winds in the sky seemed to have been shattered. Some powerful martial artists could even see stars shattering one after another. An Immortal Realm Level 5 expert could shatter stars. Not to mention an Immortal Realm expert with a supreme weapon. That kind of destructive power. It was enough to dominate the 3,000 worlds. Rumble. Suddenly there was another rumbling sound. At this moment, it seemed as though the world was about to be destroyed. In the next moment, the disciples of the Langya sacred ground suddenly realized that there was a rain of blood in the void. Seeing this scene, the people from the Langya sacred ground felt their hearts in their throats. Dong. At this moment, a white figure smashed down from the sky and landed on top of a huge mountain. Rumble. A 10,000 zhang tall mountain was directly smashed into smithereens and collapsed. Countless people watched this scene with their eyes wide open. Rumble. Then the white figure walked out and stood in the void again. It was the Holy Lord of Langya Tao Xian. It was just that Dao Yan's current state looked incomparably miserable. A huge hole had been blasted open in his chest. Even his shoulder seemed to have been smashed. Scarlet blood kept dripping from the void. Sacred leader. Seeing this scene, all the disciples of the Langya sacred ground cried out in grief. The people watching the battle also sighed when they saw this scene. They sighed in their hearts. The combined power of two supreme weapons was too terrifying. Even if Tao Xian had the strength of an immortal realm expert, he still ended up like this. In front of a supreme weapon, an immortal realm expert was still too weak. I'm fine. Seeing the concerned looks of the disciples of the Langya sacred ground, Tao Xian's face turned solemn and said, "You guys can leave first." Tao Xian knew in his heart that if he were to be defeated, no matter how many disciples of the Langya sacred ground went up, they would not be able to change the outcome of the battle. He knew that if he was not a match for them, even the supreme elder of the immortal realm would not be able to help. Tao Xian, are you still going to be stubborn? Then two figures slowly descended from the void. They were the Alcade sacred leader and the Green Cloud sacred leader. At this moment, the two of them looked calm and unparalleled. It was a stark contrast to the miserable Tao Xian. In the outer region, the three supreme weapons were still fighting. However, without Tao Xian's control, the Langya sacred ground illustration was completely suppressed. At this moment, Tao Xian was also seriously injured. So far, only 2 of the 5 forces had been mobilized. Admit defeat. Tao Xian, don't be stubborn. At this moment, Alcade's sacred leader looked down at the Holy Lord of Langya. It was as if he had completely forgotten that he had been suppressed by Tao Xian just now. At this moment, the 5 forces took a step forward. A vast pressure shook and completely suppressed the Langya sacred ground. Those primordial spirit, Dharma idol and immortal level existences. One by one they walked out. They directly sealed the world. As for Demon King Jiao, Fairy Fox King and the others, they faced Tao Xian directly. Their vast primordial spirit was completely revealed. Especially Demon King Jiao. He even had the cultivation of the immortal realm. 5 terrifying immortal level figures were suppressing Tao Xian together. However, at this moment, Tao Xian still had a fearless look on his face. He took a deep breath and slowly spoke to everyone present. I said that all the disciples of the Langya sacred ground will fight to the end. At this moment, Tao Xian was very calm. Although his body was stained with blood, he still lived up to the name of a sacred master. Countless people saw this scene and felt admiration in their hearts. However, that was all there was to it. Even if he was an immortal level figure, how could he face those 5 terrifying existences? Some people even shook their heads and sighed. Could it be that the Langya sacred ground was really going to be destroyed? If that's the case, then I'll fulfill your wish. Seeing this, Demon King Jiao's golden eyes flickered with a cold light as he spoke coldly. He was wearing golden armor, dazzling and eye-catching. As the person with the strongest cultivation among the 5 forces. Even in the face of Tao Xian, who had powerful strength, he was not afraid. From today onwards, the human race will no longer have the Langya sacred ground. And you, Tao Xian, will be the greatest sinner in the history of the Langya sacred ground. It was your stubbornness that caused the destruction of the Langya sacred ground by harboring the holy son of Haotian, who had already become a demon. He kept speaking. Not only did he want to kill Tao Xian physically, he also wanted to kill him mentally. That was the only way. Only then could he feel carefree. After saying this, Demon King Jiao no longer hesitated. His hands turned into shocking claws and directly attacked Tao Xian. At the same time, the sacred master of Azure Cloud and the others also took a step forward to suppress Tao Xian. Countless people closed their eyes. It was as if they did not want to see a legacy destroyed just like that. But at this moment, the spears of the underworld flew out one after another. The phenomenon of the 18 levels of hell enveloped the world. Countless people felt a chill in their hearts. At the end of the horizon, a purple-robed figure appeared. His wings covered the world and emitted a mysterious light. His killing intent was majestic. His power was shocking. Chapter 200. A vast and boundless killing intent spread out from the void. The killing intent seemed to have materialized. It was suffocating. It was a black spear of the underworld, and it carried the aura of hell. The aura on it was incomparably sharp, and it had the ability to suppress and kill all living beings. At this moment, the spear of the underworld shot towards him from the horizon. The power it carried caused the entire void to change. In everyone's eyes, shadows of hell began to appear in the void one after another. The entire world seemed to have turned into a world of Azura. At this moment, the spear of the underworld was shooting towards Demon King Jiao. Looking at the spear of the underworld rushing towards him, Demon King Jiao's golden eyes flashed and he frowned slightly. Although he didn't think much of the spear of the underworld, the aura of hell that emanated from it caught his attention. This power was so strange. It actually caused the origin energy in his body to stagnate. When the spear of the underworld was about to hit Demon King Jiao's body, only then did he raise his hand unhurriedly. Then, without any unnecessary movements, his golden eyes narrowed slightly. His hands were like heavenly claws, and he directly shattered the spear of the underworld. It was also at this moment that everyone turned to look at the purple-robed figure that was coming from the horizon. The purple-robed figure stood on the horizon. The wings on his back flapped, and he exuded a mysterious aura. Then, the wings on the purple-robed figure's back flapped slightly. Immediately, the sound of thunder resounded between heaven and earth. In the next moment, the purple-robed figure disappeared from the horizon and appeared in front of everyone. His aura was incomparably terrifying, as if a god had descended to the mortal world. Then, the purple-robed figure took a step forward and stood side by side with the Holy Lord of Langia and Tao Xian. At this moment, the wings on his back had already disappeared, and his purple robes fluttered without wind. His long and slender hair danced in the void. His body was incomparably tall and straight, like a pillar that supported the heavens. Just by standing there he seemed to be able to suppress the entire void. At this moment, everyone finally saw the true face of the purple-robed figure. It was Jun Haoyan. Everyone looked at Jun Haoyan, who was standing beside Tao Xian, with astonishment in their eyes. They couldn't believe what they were seeing. It's Holy Son of Haoyan. He's not in the Langia Sacred Land, but he actually came back at this time. Doesn't he know that the 5 great powers are here for him? Only death awaits us if we return to the Langia Holy Land. The aura that the Holy Son of Haoyan exuded just now is not right. He seems to have stepped into the primordial spirit Dharma form stage. Looking at the Holy Son of Haoyan, who was standing beside Tao Xian, everyone began to discuss. Some people were shocked that Jun Haoyan dared to return at this time. There were also people who were shocked that Jun Haoyan had broken into the primordial spirit Dharma plane. But in the end, everyone was extremely shocked by Jun Haoyan's sudden return. Facing countless shocked gazes, Jun Haoyan's expression did not change at all. At this moment, his figure was tall and straight, standing directly in the void. Terrifying true core strength flowed around him. His body was crystal clear, and streams of true core strength flowed from his body continuously. At this moment, Jun Haoyan looked at Tao Xian beside him. He saw that Tao Xian's body was covered with wounds, but none of them were fatal. As long as the head of an immortal realm martial artist was not decapitated, he would not die. Even if his limbs were broken or his internal organs were ruptured, it was not a big deal. Looks like I came just in time. Seeing that the Langia Sacred Land did not suffer heavy casualties, Jun Haoyan could not help but feel relieved, and his expression became slightly better. He had thought that it would take 3 days to reach the Langia Sacred Land from the Little Thunder Temple. However, the speed of the divine wings of liberty had far exceeded Jun Haoyan's expectations. In just 2 days, the divine wings of liberty had successfully brought him to the Langia Sacred Land. What made him happy was that the Langia Sacred Land had not suffered any losses. Why are you back? Why do you have to come back now? At this moment, Tao Xian's voice came from behind him. At this moment, Tao Xian's tone was actually a little sorrowful. In Tao Xian's eyes. Originally, no matter what happened, Jun Haoyan should not have appeared. Even if the Langia Sacred Land had been destroyed today. But as long as Jun Haoyan, the Holy Son of Hao Tian, was alive, then the Langia Sacred Land would have hope of recovery. But now, the Holy Son of Hao Tian had actually appeared directly. How could the 5 major forces let him live unscathed? At this moment, with his current condition, there was no way that he could protect Jun Haoyan. Thinking of this, Tao Xian looked at Jun Haoyan with a look of disappointment. Even his originally ramrod-straight body seemed to have fallen into a slump. Previously, even if his body had been pierced and his shoulder had exploded, his body was covered in blood. However, Tao Xian would rather die than submit. His body was still straight. For the sake of all the Langya disciples behind him, he resisted the attacks of the 5 major forces. But now Tao Xian was a little disheartened. With his strength, there was no way that he could protect Jun Haoyan from the 5 major holy masters. Once Jun Haoyan, the most monstrous holy son of the Langya sacred land in tens of thousands of years, died, then the hope of the Langya sacred land rising would really be destroyed. Even if the Langya sacred land was not destroyed by then, it would fall into a situation where it could not recover. If Jun Haoyan could survive with Jun Haoyan's talent, there would be a day where the Langya sacred land would rise again. Now this last hope was directly destroyed. In this battle Jun Haoyan would definitely die. Holy Master, Langya is in trouble. As the holy son of Langya, how can I stay out of it? I came back this time to naturally resolve the crisis of the Langya sacred land today. Looking at Tao Xian, Jun Haoyan's face revealed a trace of a smile. His expression was incomparably relaxed. It was as if he did not care about the impending disaster at all. His expression was incomparably calm. At this moment, everyone in the Langya sacred land heard Jun Haoyan's words. The Langya disciples, elders, and even the temple master, who were originally in despair, looked behind them. The figure in purple who was standing side by side with the Holy Lord of Langya at this moment. That figure was as calm as usual and was still as peerless as ever. Even though some of the disciples and elders were very clear. Even if their holy son appeared, the outcome would not change. However, they did not know why. A trace of hope was ignited in everyone's heart. At least, the holy son would be able to return at the critical moment. This proved that their efforts to protect him were not in vain. Holy son of Haoyan, I didn't expect you to still dare to appear. At this moment, Alkate's sacred lord looked at Jun Haoyan and said coldly. He narrowed his eyes slightly and the true origin around him was constantly vibrating. It was as vast as a torrential river. Subsequently, Qingyun's sacred lord and Luotian's sacred lord also walked out slowly and looked at Jun Haoyan. Your return is indeed beyond our expectations. It seems that you still have a trace of humanity left. However, falling into the demon path is falling into the demon path. Even if you still have a trace of humanity left, you still have to die. The 2 sacred lords looked down at Jun Haoyan coldly and judged him. They were naturally surprised that Jun Haoyan could appear. As for Jun Haoyan's Dharma characteristic cultivation, they did not take him seriously. Although he had entered the Dharma characteristic realm at such a young age and could be considered one of the strongest prodigies in the Wuxian continent. However, a Dharma characteristic realm cultivation was simply not enough today. In fact, he could only be reduced to cannon fodder. Right now, the 5 top forces of the Wuxian continent were standing before them. No matter how talented he was, it was useless if he did not grow up. One more person would just be one more person to kill. Do you think you can destroy the Langya sacred ground just because you have more people? You're just a bunch of useless people. What can you do? Jun Haoyan smiled faintly as he stood in the void. The moment he opened his mouth, he directly declared that the 5 top forces were just a bunch of useless people. As soon as he said that, he had undoubtedly offended everyone in the 5 top forces. At that moment, a primordial soul Dharma characteristic elite from the Qingyun sacred ground walked out. He looked at Jun Haoyan with some sarcasm and said directly, such arrogance. It seems that the holy son of Haoyan has really fallen into the demon path and his demonic nature is not shallow. However, just as this elite finished speaking, Jun Haoyan suddenly moved. In just an instant, the wings of freedom spread out. He seemed to have directly crossed the layers of space between the 2 of them. He appeared directly in front of that person. Then, a punch came down. At that moment, a surge of power surged out. Although they were both in the Dharma characteristic realm, Jun Haoyan could even crush prodigies. Moreover, this was a sudden attack from him. Poof! In an instant, the body of the arrogant Dharma characteristic elite exploded and his primordial soul was instantly destroyed. At that moment, blood rained down from the sky. Everyone present was shocked. Chapter 2. The Great War. No one had expected the Holy Son of Great Heaven to display such a domineering move as soon as he appeared. Yet, he actually dared to stand before the 5 sempiternal realm experts of the 5 major powers. He had directly killed a primordial soul Dharma plane cultivator. Even the Alkate Saint Master and the others were slightly surprised by this scene. He looked at Jun Haoyan with a hint of surprise in his eyes. By the time they reacted, Jun Haoyin had already returned to his original position. His hands were still clasped behind his back as he spoke casually. "Blabbermouth, damn it." Jun Haoyin's emotionless words made everyone's scalp go numb. Everyone looked at Jun Haoyin with a trace of fear in their eyes. The holy son of Haoyin was too arrogant. One had to know that Jun Haoyin was not facing just one or two geniuses. What he was facing was the alliance of the 5 great forces. This guy is still as arrogant as ever. The Jade Lake Saint, Guyue Huang, exclaimed when she saw this scene from afar. The holy son of Haoyin's way of doing things had not changed at all. Just like in the Supreme Relic, the holy son of the various holy lands without any scruples. Not only the Jade Lake Saint, but everyone present was extremely shocked. Even at this stage, the holy son of Haoyin was still so arrogant. It was truly inconceivable. At that moment, the 5 great forces began to react. They looked at Jun Haoyin and began to scold him loudly. "Holy son of Haoyin, you are digging your own grave. How dare you kill people in front of us? How dare you? You don't take us seriously at all." His way of doing things is no different from the demon tribe. The holy son of Haoyin has fallen into the demon path. The experts of the 5 great forces spoke one after another. In the face of Jun Haoyin's arrogance, they were furious and could not restrain their anger. Jun Haoyin's actions showed that he did not take the 5 great forces seriously at all. If it were anyone else, they would definitely choose to retreat temporarily. However, Jun Haoyin was provoking them in front of them. How could they not be angry at such an action? The only ones who remained calm were the Alcade Holy Leader and the other 4. These people were already standing at the peak of the Wuxian continent. Although the holy son of Haoyin was a top genius, with Jun Haoyin's current strength, they did not take him seriously at all. Even though Jun Haoyin was very high profile. With their voices, they naturally would not curse like the others and tarnish the holy leader's reputation. However, this did not mean that they could let Jun Haoyin kill people in front of them. At the same time, streams of powerful aura surged out from their bodies. In an instant, the aura swept across the entire area. When the 5 great forces joined forces, there were hundreds of primordial spirit and dharma characteristic experts. Dozens of immortal stage 5 existences. With such strength, anyone could be suppressed directly. Not to mention the holy son of Haoyin, a mere dharma characteristic existence. However, Jun Haoyin did not care at all in the face of these people's scolding. He looked at the 5 great forces with a cold glint in his eyes. When some of the dharma characteristic existences looked at him, their bodies would tremble slightly. Although these people were dissatisfied with Jun Haoyin's domineering style, they had to admit it in their hearts. Jun Haoyin's strength was simply too strong. In the void, Jun Haoyin looked coldly at the 5 great forces and said slowly, "If you want to attack, just do it directly. Stop talking nonsense. No matter what move you use, come at me. The Langya's sacred ground will take it all." Jun Haoyin said slowly, domineering beyond compare. Hearing Jun Haoyin's words, even Tao Xian narrowed his eyes. At this point it was useless to think too much. It was better to fight to the death, to the end. Perhaps there was a glimmer of hope. At this thought, Tao Xian took a step forward. A gust of true origin flowed, and in the next moment, Tao Xian's injuries healed at a speed visible to the naked eye. This kind of injury was nothing to a peerless immortal realm expert like him. These were just superficial wounds that did not harm his Dao foundation at all. At this moment, Tao Xian's eyes were as sharp as knives. He stood side by side with Jun Haoyin and said directly, "Disciples of the Langya sacred ground, fight with me." Tao Xian's voice was not loud, but it rang in the hearts of all the disciples. The sacred leader did not back down. The holy son did not back down either. The temple masters and elders did not back down either. What right did they have to back down? Fight. 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 At this moment, countless Langya disciples roared. Their voices were incomparably loud, resounding throughout the world. In the next moment, in the central square of the Langya sacred ground, all the supreme elders of the Langya sacred ground sat cross-legged and poured their true origin into the square. Then the entire square shot out rays of divine light, covering the mountains and the earth. This was also the defensive array of the Langya sacred ground, but this array was only used to suppress the terrain. Otherwise, when the battle started, the sacred ground would be destroyed before the disciples of the Langya sacred ground were killed. In the outside world, when everyone saw this scene, their faces were filled with shock. Their hearts were trembling. One had to know that the 5 major forces had already used 2 supreme artifacts. The outcome of this battle was already clear. But now, the Langya Sacred Ground still wanted to fight, and they even took the initiative to fight. Where did the Langya Sacred Ground get their confidence from? Just as countless people were in shock, Demon King Jiao's slightly narrowed eyes suddenly burst out with a golden light. Without any hesitation, Demon King Jiao launched an attack. With the number of experts and their supreme artifacts, destroying the Langya Sacred Ground was a piece of cake. With the help of all the disciples, the 9 supreme elders once again formed a large array. This large array could be considered to be the strength of the entire Langya Sacred Ground. They directly covered all the experts of the 5 major forces who were at the 5th stage of the immortal realm. At the same time, Tao Xian also directly attacked. He directly took out an immortal spiritual artifact and enveloped Demon King Jiao and the All-Cade Sacred Leader. Tao Xian actually wanted to rely on himself to fight against the 5 sacred leaders. In the outer realm, the battle of the supreme artifacts was still ongoing. Although the Langya Mountain River diagram was suppressed, it was not completely defeated yet. As for Jun Haoyin, he was facing nearly 200 primordial soul Dharma phase experts alone. When countless people saw this scene, other than shock in their hearts, there was also a trace of sadness. The outcome of this battle had long been decided. Although the 9 supreme elders of the Langya Sacred Ground were powerful, they were facing 70 to 80 experts of the 5th stage of the immortal realm. Even with the help of hundreds of thousands of disciples, they could only trap them for a while. Sooner or later the array would be broken. As for the Holy Lord of Langya, Tao Xian, although his strength was unparalleled, among the 5 sacred leaders led by Demon King Jiao, which one of them was not a peerless genius? How long could Tao Xian last against 5 of them alone? As for the Holy Son of Haoyin, although he had already advanced to the top of the Wuxian continent's elite, he was still young. But in the end he was only a member of the younger generation. How could he compete with figures of the older generation? Although there were not many existences above the Dharma phase realm among the 5 major forces this time, it could be said that it was easy to deal with a Dharma phase existence. But just as countless people were lamenting, Jun Haoyin actually took the initiative to attack. At this moment, Jun Haoyin directly took out the 6 Reincarnation Path Tablet. The 6 Reincarnation Path Tablet hung above his head. In an instant, the entire void was enveloped by the 6 Reincarnation Path Tablet. At this moment, shock appeared in the hearts of countless people. They were shocked to discover that the Dharma treasure in the hands of the Holy Son of Haoyin not only enveloped all the primordial soul and Dharma phase experts present, it even enveloped the 5 immortal realm giants. What is the Holy Son of Haoyin trying to do? Could it be that facing nearly 200 experts is not enough? He wants to fight against the immortal realm giants? Isn't this a little overconfident? But just as everyone was shocked, the 6 Reincarnation Path Tablet in Jun Haoyin's hands, it directly suppressed the entire Langya Sacred Ground. The 6 Reincarnation Path Tablet floated in the air, revealing 6 different types of power. At this moment, not only did the primordial soul and Dharma phase experts' expressions change, even the immortal realm experts were the same. Because they discovered, after the 6 Reincarnation Path Tablet appeared, their primordial soul, and divine powers were all suppressed. Some primordial soul and Dharma phase experts were directly suppressed and fell in cultivation. The power of the 6 Reincarnation Path Tablet. It was incomparably terrifying. Chapter 201. As soon as the 6 paths of Reincarnation Tablet appeared, it instantly sealed the surrounding space. Together with the 9 elders of the Langya Sacred Ground, it formed a huge domain. It contained all the experts of the 5 superpowers, including the 5 immortal realms. Apart from the people of the Langya Sacred Ground, everyone who was trapped in the 6 paths of Reincarnation Tablet would more or less be affected. What's going on? Why can't I use my celestial appearance? What kind of treasure did the Holy Sun take out? Why does it seem like my cultivation is sealed? How is this possible? Even my immortal realm cultivation is affected. At this moment, the people of the 5 superpowers kept exclaiming. They looked at the 6 paths of Reincarnation Tablet in the void with disbelief in their eyes. What kind of treasure was that? How could it be so strange? Not only did it seal their primordial spirits, but it also sealed their cultivation and celestial appearance. Wasn't this a little too shocking? It had to be said that Jun Haoyin's move stunned everyone present. Even Demon King Jiao, who was fighting with Tao Xian, looked at Jun Haoyin in surprise. However, that was all. No matter how mysterious Jun Haoyin's treasure was, it could not affect anything. This battle ultimately depended on their battle with Tao Xian. Once Tao Xian was defeated, the Langya Mountain River painting would be suppressed. No matter how much Jun Haoyan could stir up trouble, it would be useless. With the supreme weapon, Demon King Jiao and the others could easily suppress Jun Haoyan. No matter what Jun Haoyan did, it would be useless. Then the fierce battle continued. It had to be said that Tao Xian's strength was indeed terrifying. As an immortal realm cultivator, Tao Xian's strength was definitely not weaker than Demon King Jiao's. For so many years, no one had discovered Tao Xian's strength. It was obvious that he had hidden his strength so deeply. If it was a one-on-one, Tao Xian's hidden strength would definitely catch his opponent off guard. But at this moment, even if his hidden strength was exposed, it would be of no use. Facing 5 Holy Master level existences, only an Emperor Realm Master could reverse the situation. On the other side, Jun Haoyan also attacked without hesitation. A vast amount of true essence could shake one's soul. At this moment, Jun Haoyan stood alone in the void. His body was filled with an aura that made one's heart palpitate. Supreme Elders, all you need to do is protect the Holy Land. I, the Holy Sun, am more than enough to kill these ants. Looking at the people from the 5 major forces, Jun Haoyan revealed a trace of killing intent as he sneered. Judging from his words, he was planning to fight all the experts of the 5 great factions by himself. Holy Son of Haoyan, you are too arrogant. Do you really think that you can be so arrogant and despotic with just a single treasure? Come and try if you have the guts. Let's see how miserable your death will be. Some of the experts from the 5 great factions kept scolding. Their voices were like thunder, causing people's hearts to tremble. Then shocking killing intent leaked out from their bodies. In the next moment they actually rushed towards Jun Haoyan. Before coming to Langya Holy Land, their sects had secretly instructed them about the strength of their sects. As long as anyone could kill Haoyan Holy Sun, they would be able to obtain the benefits of all 5 great factions. Moreover, Jun Haoyan's arrogant attitude at this moment made them want to kill him. In their opinion, Jun Haoyan was courting death. Since that was the case, they couldn't blame him. Seeing this scene, the Supreme Elders of Langya Holy Land looked at each other with worry in their eyes. How could Haoyan Holy Sun win against these masters alone? Even if the Holy Sun's treasure was extremely powerful, he was facing 200 Transcendence Realm existences. Trust me, it'll be fine. Seeing the change in their expressions, Jun Haoyan naturally knew what they were thinking and said directly. As soon as he finished speaking, a vast amount of true essence surged out from his body. At this moment the weather changed. Then a Sarira like the sun slowly appeared on Jun Haoyan's body. This Sarira was emitting an extremely dazzling light. When the light shone on Jun Haoyan's body, it made him look like the king of heaven and earth. Moreover, there were already 18 ancient Buddhas slowly appearing on the relic. They sat quietly around Jun Haoyan with their legs crossed, chanting scriptures continuously. In the next moment, an extremely terrifying aura suddenly erupted from Jun Haoyan's body. This was the aura of an immortal realm powerhouse. The moment this aura appeared, it contained a terrifying power that caused the entire world to explode. Boom. After receiving the help of the 18 Supremacy's great salvation immeasurable Sarira, Jun Haoyan directly reached the immortal realm. In the next moment, Jun Haoyan did not stop at all and directly attacked. At the same time, a boundless sea of blood suddenly appeared behind Jun Haoyan as if it was real. Above the sea of blood, 12 demon gods slowly appeared. Then, the power of the 12 demon gods was all added to Jun Haoyan's body. Capital Demon God Technique. The next moment, Jun Haoyan let out a roar and threw out a simple punch. This punch was heavy and powerful, containing an unparalleled power that could shock the heavens. Under Jun Haoyan's terrifying punch, the dozen Transcendence Realm experts who charged towards Jun Haoyan were directly killed. Facing Jun Haoyan, who was at the immortal realm, they had no ability to resist at all. This punch was enough to shake the world. As for the dozen or so Transcendence Realm experts who were hit by Jun Haoyan's punch, their bodies directly exploded. Even their primordial spirits were completely annihilated by that punch. In an instant, countless drops of blood dripped from the void like a torrential rain of blood, pouring onto the ground. When everyone saw this horrifying scene, their faces were filled with disbelief. One punch. Holy Sun Hao Tian actually killed more than a dozen Transcendence Realm experts with a simple punch. Just how terrifying was this strength? Seeing this scene, even the Grand Elders of the Langya Sacred Ground looked at each other, not knowing what to say. Help the Holy Sun stabilize the domain. Don't let them escape. At this moment, a Grand Elder spoke. At this moment they were pleasantly surprised. Their holy son actually had such combat strength. Okay. Hearing that, the Grand Elders spoke one after another with high fighting spirit. They tried their best to channel their true essence to stabilize this world. Let Jun Haoyin fight to his heart's content inside. Everyone, don't be afraid. Stabilize yourselves. Holy Son Hao Tian only used a secret technique to temporarily increase his cultivation. He won't be able to last long. Attack him now and kill him directly. An immortal realm expert from the 5 major forces shouted loudly. A vast power slowly condensed in the void. At this moment they had more than 200 Transcendence Realm experts. They were all influential figures on the Wuxian continent. Now that they were gathered together, how could they be afraid of a junior like Jun Haoyin? Thinking of this, everyone took out all kinds of magic treasures. They attacked Jun Haoyin with all their might. Since you're courting death, I'll fulfill your wish. Jun Haoyin spoke. Dressed in purple, he was peerless. There was an indescribable domineering aura. At this moment he was temporarily standing in the immortal realm, Although he was only in the first realm, it was Jun Haoyin's foundation. He could easily challenge the geniuses from all over the world. His strength was truly terrifying. Sunshot Divine Bow. Without any hesitation, he directly took out the Sunshot Divine Bow. Boom. In an instant an arrow was shot out. Like a thunderclap, the wind and clouds moved. Only those who were in the immortal realm could truly unleash the power of a supreme-grade magic treasure. This sword strike could kill immortals and Buddhas. In an instant, it pierced through 3 primordial spirit Dharma idol powerhouses. They didn't even last a breath before they died. A rain of blood poured down once again. The void seemed to be dyed red. All kinds of treasures were shattered and all kinds of powerful figures were killed. At this moment, Jun Haoyin had turned into a god of slaughter. Every time he attacked, someone was bound to die. Finally, the immortal realm powerhouses who were about to break the domain couldn't take it anymore. 10 of them walked out and strode over. Jun Haoyin had killed more than 40 primordial spirit Dharma idols in that period of time. They couldn't take it anymore. At this moment, Jun Haoyin also put away the Sunshot Divine Bow in his hand. He quietly looked at the person in front of him. Dressed in purple, he galloped. This was his first time fighting against an immortal realm powerhouse. But even so, he was fearless. Today, he was the holy son of Haoyin. He had to stop killing with killing. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. At this moment, in front of Jun Haoyin, there were 10 immortal realm powerhouses. Although their strength was suppressed under the effect of the 6 paths of reincarnation tablet. But after all, they had the numbers, so their cultivation wasn't directly reduced. The immortal realm aura emitted from their bodies was still terrifying. Facing this aura, Jun Haoyin was naturally fearless. The next moment he directly took a step forward. In an instant the entire world began to shake, and an incomparably vast aura spread out in all directions. Sensing this aura, the 10 immortal realm powerhouses narrowed their eyes slightly. In the next moment they attacked without hesitation. The moment they attacked, they used extremely terrifying divine abilities. In fact, some of them even used immortal spirit artifacts. In the entire eastern wilderness, not many people could withstand such an extremely fierce attack. However, in the face of this attack, Jun Haoyin's expression didn't change. He didn't even take out his treasures. In the next moment, a vast power erupted from Jun Haoyin's body. In the face of this shocking attack, Jun Haoyin still threw out a simple punch. Behind him, 18 supreme ancient Buddhas chanted scriptures, and 12 fiend gods descended. Under the contrast of the endless Buddhist light and fiend chi, Jun Haoyin seemed to have transformed into a divine king. In the next moment he directly threw out a punch. For a moment the world shook. The combined attack of 10 immortal realm peerless powerhouses was actually destroyed by Jun Haoyin's punch. This scene caused everyone to be unable to help but be astounded. In the next moment, they directly ordered all the Dharma characteristic existences to come and assist. They were prepared to besiege Jun Haoyin together. At this moment, they realized that with their strength, they couldn't defeat this man in front of them. Only by joining forces would they have a chance of winning. At this moment, even existences like them had to admit that the holy son of Haoyin was simply too powerful. At this moment, the true essence in Jun Haoyin's body vibrated, and his eyes shone brightly. All sorts of powerful forces surged out. In the face of the essence soul and Dharma characteristic powerhouses that besieged him again, Jun Haoyin only had one punch. Boom. In an instant the terrifying punch killed 10 Dharma characteristic powerhouses again. Now, Jun Haoyan's strength had already reached the immortal realm. He could kill as many Dharma-characteristic existences as there were. One had to know that before he reached the immortal realm, Jun Haoyan already had the strength to fight against immortal realm powerhouses. Not to mention that he already had the strength of the immortal realm now. In the next moment, Jun Haoyan's eyes flashed, and he executed the Supreme Nine Secrets battle formula. In an instant, he transformed into an unparalleled war immortal, and every move contained a terrifying power of destruction. It was breathtaking. The battle formula could evolve into tens of thousands of techniques and transform them into the most unparalleled offensive power. This time, Jun Haoyan's methods became even stronger, causing everyone to be shocked. The 18 Supremacy's great salvation immeasurable relic shone on his body. It allowed his cultivation to reach the peak of the immortal realm. A casual move could shatter mountains and rivers. Seeing this scene, the 10 immortal realm powerhouses' faces turned pale, and they kept retreating. The terrifying aura around Jun Haoyan made them not dare to approach. Even the immortal realm powerhouses who had been alive for 10,000 years were like this, let alone the other Dharma characteristic experts. Some people were even shocked and couldn't believe it. Everything that was happening now. It was also at this moment that behind Jun Haoyan, the shadow of a demon's supremacy appeared with 3,000 hands. Each hand held an underworld deity spear. Layers of hellish aura surged, causing the surrounding heaven and earth essence energy to collapse. A total of 3,000 underworld deity spears appeared. On each divine spear, 8 levels of hell appeared. The powerful and terrifying aura seemed to be able to destroy all existences. Jun Haoyan didn't hesitate at all and directly threw out the 3,000 divine spears. The divine spears tore through the void and rushed forward. Instantly the world was filled with killing intent. The powerhouses of the 5 major factions felt as if they were in hell and felt endless coldness. Not good, let's join forces quickly. His divine ability is extremely terrifying. Seeing this, the immortal realm powerhouses spoke in horror, and their expressions changed drastically. Even the immortal realm powerhouses who wanted to break through the domain felt danger. For a moment, everyone joined forces. All of them felt the terror of this divine ability. They directly took out their treasures and erupted with tyrannical power. And this scene made the spectators in the distance shocked to the extreme. Holy Son of Hao Tian. He was actually so powerful. Everything in front of them was really unimaginable. But all of this was so real. At this moment, the 3,000 underworld deity spears had already pierced through the air. These 3,000 divine spears seemed to have pierced out from hell. They could destroy everything. The 3,018 levels of hell had all kinds of evil spirits howling. It made one's body turn cold. This move, it directly shook the heavens. The bodies of 30 Essence Soul Dharma phase powerhouses split open, and their essence souls were destroyed. 7 to 8 immortal realm powerhouses retreated, their faces pale. Some of them even had their dantian broken by the divine spears. The entire world was filled with a rain of blood, and the smell of blood surged. It was hard to open one's eyes. This world had completely turned into Azura hell. And everyone realized that. Nearly 200 Essence Soul Dharma phase powerhouses had been crazily slaughtered by Jun Haoyan. A total of 120 of them had been slaughtered. Chapter 202. 70 to 80 Transcendence Realm experts accounted for almost 1/5 of the people present. At this moment they were all severely injured. And all of this was the result of one move from Jun Haoyan. Instantly, everyone present looked at Jun Haoyan in shock. The strength displayed by Great Heaven's Holy Son was no longer something that a prodigy of the younger generation could display. Even the top prodigies of the continent could not compare to Great Heaven's Holy Son. At this moment he could even be ranked as one of the top prodigies in Eastern Wilderness. Everyone looked at Jun Haoyan with a hint of surprise in their eyes. How old was Great Heaven's Holy Son now? He was probably not even 20 years old. Looking at Jun Haoyan's excessively young face, all of them felt as if they were in a dream. Although Great Heaven's Holy Son's current strength was temporarily enhanced by external items. But to be able to display such terrifying strength as an immortal longevity realm expert was enough to shock the world. There was not a single person who wasn't shocked. Holy Son. Holy Son. Holy Son. Seeing this scene, all the disciples of Langya's sacred ground went crazy. They were so excited that their faces were flushed red. All the disciples of Langya looked at Jun Haoyan with fervent admiration. This was the Holy Son of Langya's sacred ground. The Holy Son of Great Heaven that they were protecting. At this moment, a glimmer of hope ignited in the hearts of all the disciples of Langya. This is absolutely impossible. He only used external items to increase his cultivation. How could he maintain it for so long? Despicable. Despicable. At this moment, the experts of the 5 major forces who were still trapped in the domain looked at Jun Haotian with disbelief in their eyes. They all roared angrily, their words full of fear for Jun Haotian. Based on Great Heaven's Holy Son's killing speed, he would soon kill everyone present. How dare you? At this moment, a loud voice came from the void where the sacred leaders were fighting. Everyone looked over and saw that the voice came from the sacred leader of Azure Cloud. At this moment, the battle in the void was about to come to an end. Tao Xian was fighting 1 against 5, and the result was self-evident. He was being suppressed by Demon King Jiao and the others. Countless bloody holes appeared on his body, and fresh blood gushed out of them. At this rate, Dao Yin wouldn't be able to hold on for much longer. He would soon perish in the hands of Demon King Jiao, Monarch Fairy Fox, and the others. The sacred leader of the sacred leaders of Azure Cloud and sacred leader of Azure Cloud. At present, the battle situation above was already thoroughly stabilized. Dao Profound was already thoroughly suppressed. They were no longer needed in the battle. At this moment, the 2 sacred leaders looked directly at Jun Haotian. Looking at the heavy casualties of the 5 major forces, the 2 of them looked at Jun Haotian with eyes filled with killing intent. Many of these Transcendence Realm and Immortal Realm experts were from the 3 sacred grounds of Eastern Wilderness. Now, some of them had died in the hands of Jun Haotian. This was a heavy loss for the sacred grounds. All of you back off. The sacred leader of Azure Cloud and sacred leader of Azure Cloud stepped forward and stood in front of Jun Haotian. The 2 of them were going to attack Jun Haotian directly. Seeing this scene, countless people were instantly dumbfounded. They were so shocked that they were numb. Their eyes were glazed over. The sacred leaders were going to attack the Holy Son of Great Heaven. This scene caused everyone present to feel disbelief. Could the Holy Son of Great Heaven survive against 2 sacred leaders? Although the Holy Son of Great Heaven had displayed unparalleled strength, he had relied on external items to forcefully increase his strength. Furthermore, the 2 holy lords that he was facing right now were famous figures in the continent 1,000 years ago. Regardless of talent or aptitude, they were top-notch. Normally, Holy Lord level characters would only fight against other Holy Lords. They would not even bother to attack ordinary people. But now, the 2 sacred leaders had chosen to attack the Holy Son of Great Heaven, a disciple of Langya. What? Are the 2 seniors bullying the weak? Jun Haotian chuckled as he looked at the sacred leader of Azure Cloud and sacred leader of Great Heaven. Even in the face of such a peerless character, Jun Haotian was still as calm as ever. He did not show any signs of fear. In fact, Jun Haotian also wanted to know if he could fight against the top figures of Eastern Wilderness after reaching the Longevity Realm. At the same time, he also wanted to know how much power he could unleash. Previously, Jun Haotian had already displayed his terrifying strength when he faced the experts of the 5 sacred grounds. However, that strength was not his full strength. You are indeed as arrogant as the rumors say. Today you have killed so many experts of our sacred grounds. I will not let you live. You are so bloodthirsty. It seems like you have really fallen into the demon Dao. The sacred leader of Azure Cloud and sacred leader of Great Heaven said as they looked at the calm Jun Haotian. Although the strength that Jun Haotian had displayed had shocked the 2 of them. But that was it. They had already thought that Jun Haotian's strength was not a threat to them. As sacred leaders of sacred grounds, they were peerless existences in the eternal realm. Such strength, even in the Trichiliacosm, was incomparably powerful. Perhaps they were slightly weaker than those ancient experts, but it was enough for them to roam the 3,000 worlds. With Jun Haotian's status, it was already a great honor for the 2 of them to attack him. Hehe, if you want to kill me, just do it. You don't have to slander me. Hearing their words, a smile appeared on Jun Haotian's face. However, if you want to kill me, that will depend on how strong you are. Facing 2 holy lords, Jun Haotian's face was still as calm as ever, without a care in the world. Perhaps, in the eyes of others, Jun Haotian was on the same level as the sacred leader of Great Heaven. He had truly reached a level where he could sit on the same level as the Holy Master. How arrogant! The tallest tree in the forest will be destroyed by the wind. The saying will be proven on you. The sacred leader of Azure Cloud stared at Jun Haotian and sneered. As soon as he said that, the sacred leader of Azure Cloud attacked. The shadows of 2 sacred cauldrons slowly appeared in his hands. They were exactly the same as the sacred weapon, the sacred leader of Azure Cloud Universe Creation Cauldron. Obviously, this was a superpower that was close to the Emperor's skill. In the next instant, the sacred leader of Azure Cloud took a step forward and a vast force swept out. It was extremely terrifying. In an instant, the sacred leader of Azure Cloud arrived in front of Jun Haoyin and slammed the sacred cauldron in his hands. Seeing this, Jun Haoyin did not hesitate. Behind him, the shadows of the 12 demon gods gradually appeared. Originally, the demon god technique was only at the supreme superpower level. It was not a match for the Emperor's skill in the sacred leader of Azure Cloud's hands. However, Jun Haoyin activated the battle secret word and added it to the superpower. This made the Celestial Fiend Celestial technique even more powerful than a Supreme Emperor technique. In the next instant, the two terrifying attacks collided. A monstrous force exploded in the void as if it was going to tear the entire world apart. Even the clouds in the void were shattered. Under the impact of this force, Jun Haoyin took a few steps back. Seeing this, Jun Haoyin frowned and said, "Even if I have reached the longevity realm, there is still a gap between me and the sacred leader of Azure Cloud Universe." After all, the sacred leader of Azure Cloud Universe was in the eternal realm. Just by lifting his hand he could release a terrifying force. With such strength, even Jun Haoyin was no match for him. After all, there was still a huge gap between the longevity realm and the creation realm. Moreover, Jun Haoyin had relied on external items to reach the longevity realm. Opposite him, the sacred leader of Azure Cloud Universe looked down at Jun Haoyin and said, "This is just the beginning. Holy son of Haoyin, I have to say that your talent is indeed unparalleled in the world. However, if you think you can be arrogant because of your talent, then you are gravely mistaken. This world is much more powerful than you can imagine." As the two of them collided, the sacred leader of Azure Cloud Universe did not move an inch as he looked at Jun Haoyin calmly. At this moment he was acting high and mighty in front of Jun Haoyin. It was as if it was already a great blessing for Jun Haoyin to be able to fight with him. If Lin Fan could die in his hands, then it would be an even greater honor. At the side, the sacred leader of all heaven crossed his arms as he stood in the air and watched the show. Just by standing there he had already intimidated Jun Haoyin. In the face of what the sacred leader of Azure Cloud Universe had said, Jun Haoyin was not moved at all as he said sarcastically, "I didn't expect that as a sacred leader, you would still have so much nonsense to say." In the next moment he walked out slowly as he activated the esoteric word. Buzz. Suddenly, tenfold combat strength was added to his physical body. The golden blood chi danced in the air and turned into a river that surged continuously. An extremely powerful force instantly swept out in all directions. The sound of blood chi boiling instantly resounded across thousands of miles. Countless people at the scene heard a loud boom. At this moment, Jun Haoyin directly attacked. Just like before, Jun Haoyin simply threw out a punch. Boom. In the next moment, the entire area shook. Jun Haoyin's punch carried the offensive power of the unparalleled combat strength. On the fist print, it carried tenfold combat strength. Seeing this, the sacred leader of Azure Cloud frowned slightly. His true origin went berserk and the divine cauldron in his hand suddenly exploded with an even more powerful aura. In an instant, the two of them started fighting again. Jun Haoyin used his full strength as an immortal long-life realm cultivator to face the sacred leader of Azure Cloud Universe, who was an immortal creator realm cultivator. In a battle of this level there were many changes in an instant. In just a breath's time they could exchange a few hundred blows. The extremely terrifying power that exploded from the two of them made some immortal realm experts wary. At this moment, Jun Haoyin's unparalleled strength was actually on par with the sacred leader of Azure Cloud Universe. Especially with the help of the esoteric word and the esoteric word. In addition, his terrifying physical body could ignore most of the superpowers. After a while, he actually suppressed the sacred leader of Azure Cloud Universe. How is this possible? Seeing this scene, the sacred leader of all heaven was instantly shocked. He was well aware of the sacred leader of Azure Cloud Universe's strength. The strength of a level 7 immortal creator realm cultivator was absolutely terrifying. But now, such strength was actually suppressed by the holy son of Hao Tian. He simply couldn't believe it. Boom. At this moment, the true origin in Jun Haoyin's body transformed and he directly threw a punch at the sacred leader of Azure Cloud Universe. In an instant, the entire Langia sacred ground began to tremble. It was as though a terrifying earthquake had occurred. The ground that was originally protected couldn't withstand such power and began to crack. As for the sacred leader of Azure Cloud Universe, he directly took the hit from Jun Haoyin's punch. Jun Haoyin's punch landed directly on his body. In an instant, the sacred leader of Azure Cloud Universe's shoulder was directly smashed. In an instant blood gushed out. The sacred leader's blood splattered from the void. This scene was a ghastly sight. At this moment, everyone was shocked to the extreme. The holy son of Hao Tian injured the sacred leader of a sacred ground? This kind of strength was just too terrifying. But it was at this moment. Jun Haoyan suddenly felt a chill in his body. At the same time, a strong sense of crisis lingered in his heart. Just at this moment, the Holy Master of all heaven wielded his spear and charged towards Jun Haoyan with an earth-shattering aura. Seeing this scene, countless people immediately cried out in alarm. How dare a Holy Lord-level figure sneak attack the Holy Son of Clear Heaven? In particular, the Holy Master of all heaven's move was filled with killing intent. That was it. He took out a terrifying golden spear and blasted it out, wanting to pierce through Jun Haoyan. Just when countless people thought that Jun Haoyan was going to suffer a great calamity. Jun Haoyan's expression changed, and the furnace in his body rotated. At this moment he directly used a divine ability. The Shenhuang Gate. Chapter 2. The Blood of the Holy Lord. At this moment, the heaven and earth furnace in Jun Haoyan's body vibrated gently. On top of the furnace, various divine abilities flashed. Rays of divine light burst out, dazzling and eye-catching. In the next moment, above Jun Haoyan's head, a door that was formed by the Shenhuang Qi slowly appeared. When the door appeared, an inexplicable power filled Jun Haoyan's body. It made his body glow as if he was about to be deified. It was also at this moment that the radiance covered every corner of his body, including his pores and hair. At this moment, Jun Haoyan seemed to be wearing a feather coat formed by the Shenhuang Qi. He looked otherworldly and powerful. However, none of this could be seen by outsiders. Even the Shenhuang Gate that was suspended above Jun Haoyan's head could not be seen by others. At this moment, the entire void was shrouded by a golden divine light. The golden divine light was emitted by a divine spear. At this moment, this divine spear was bursting with boundless killing intent, causing one's heart to tremble. Everyone could only see the outline of the divine spear. Even some of the Transcendence Realm existences could not see the divine spear clearly. The divine spear was emitting an extremely sharp killing intent. This caused everyone's hair to stand on end. Some cultivators with low cultivations had even begun to tremble. In everyone's eyes, the golden giant spear arrived in front of Jun Haoyan in an instant. Seeing this scene, countless people cried out in surprise. This was the full blow of the Holy Lord of all heaven. Not to mention Jun Haoyan, even an immortal creator realm expert would be pierced through. This time, I'm afraid the Holy Son of Hao Tian will fall. Sigh, such a genius. What a pity. With two Holy Lords attacking, even if the Holy Son of Hao Tian breaks through again, it will be useless. The Holy Son of Hao Tian can die in peace now that two Holy Lords are attacking him. Everyone looked at this scene with complicated expressions. Then, the terrifying attack of the Holy Lord of all heaven directly pierced through Jun Haoyan's body. Seeing this scene, everyone felt a chill in their hearts. It was as if their bodies had been pierced through as well. When the disciples of the Langya sacred ground saw this scene, their hearts sank to the bottom of the valley. In their opinion, Jun Haoyan's strength was already strong enough. He was an invincible existence. Even so, to block the attack of a Holy Lord was undoubtedly more difficult than ascending to the heavens. Boom. In the next moment, the golden divine spear pierced through the void and directly hit Jun Haoyan's body. At this moment, in everyone's eyes, Jun Haoyan's body was pierced through. Everything that had happened just now had happened in an instant. At this moment, the Azure Cloud sacred leader and the Holy Lord of all heaven stood side by side in the void once again. They looked at Jun Haoyan, who had been pierced through by the divine spear, with disdain in their eyes. They believed that even if Jun Haoyan did not die from the previous attack, he would be severely injured. Ah, Holy Son of Hao Tian, this is the result of going against us. The Holy Lord of all heaven looked at Jun Haoyan and said slowly. He did not feel ashamed of his sudden attack at all. This was because this was a battle. It was ever-changing. In a battle of life and death, how many people would care if you fought openly? Something's not right. At this moment, the Azure Cloud sacred leader looked at Jun Haoyan and suddenly realized something was wrong. At this moment, the Holy Lord of all heaven also realized that something was wrong. This was because he realized that after his divine spear pierced through Jun Haoyan's body, there was not a single trace of blood. There was not a trace of blood in the air either. In fact, he did not even see Jun Haoyan's body that had been pierced through. Everything was the same as before. There was no change at all. Haha, as a Holy Lord, you actually did such a despicable thing. You are really a laughingstock. At this moment, a green wolf's voice slowly sounded behind everyone. Soon after, everyone saw Jun Haotian slowly walking out from within the golden light. His purple robes were untainted by even a speck of dust. Not to mention that he was severely injured, Jun Haotian's aura was not in disorder at all. Was everything that had just happened an illusion? At this moment, this thought appeared in everyone's mind. How is this possible? You took a hit from my frightening Emperor World Devastator spear. How is it possible that you are completely fine? The Holy Lord of all heaven looked as though he had seen a ghost when he saw that Jun Haotian was completely unharmed. His eyes were filled with disbelief. He was very clear about the power of his attack just now. However, Jun Haotian was completely fine at this moment. How could the Holy Lord of all heaven accept the scene before him? The other spectators were all shocked. They could not believe what they had just seen. However, at this moment, Jun Haotian moved once again. He took a step forward. His true origin vibrated and turned into hundreds of true origin heavenly dragons. At this moment, Jun Haotian was like a supreme being stepping on a heavenly dragon. It was terrifying. Even the Holy Lord of all heaven's attack was unscathed. Coupled with his current aura, countless people were terrified. Humph, do you think we are afraid of you? The green cloud Holy Lord and the Holy Lord of all heaven stepped forward together. Their bodies were filled with blazing light. Without any superfluous movements, they immediately attacked and used all sorts of powerful and terrifying superpowers. Golden divine spear, golden divine sword, green divine lotus, etc. Dozens of killing superpowers erupted in an instant. It was enough to easily kill an undying realm expert. Even an undying world king would frown and retreat slightly. However, at this moment, Jun Haotian was fearless. He walked forward slowly. With the black and yellow door above his head, he stood there and allowed the divine spear, divine sword, and divine lotus to crash into his body. To think that Jun Haotian would be able to withstand these incomparably horrifying supreme mystic skills with ease. It was as if they had no effect at all. It was as if they had hit the air. Such a scene simply frightened the two holy lords. It made them feel even more terrified and fearful. Even Demon King Jiao and the others who were fighting noticed this scene. They were extremely shocked. Could this be the legendary invulnerability? How can he have such a terrifying superpower? Even an undying creator realm existence can't do anything to the Holy Son of Haotian. How monstrous is the Holy Son of Haotian? Guys, look! The Holy Son of Haotian is attacking again. Someone exclaimed and shouted loudly, attracting everyone's attention once again. It was also at this moment that Jun Haotian formed a fist seal. The light around his body was dazzling and dazzling. He had turned into the monarch of heaven and earth. With a vast power, he faced the two holy lords with a punch. The two holy lords, who were still in shock, brazenly counterattacked. However, the punch that contained the 9 secrets of the Supreme Being was resplendent and terrifying. This punch poured down on the two holy lords' bodies. The two holy lords seemed to have suffered a heavy blow. They retreated hundreds of meters. Their faces were pale and they couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood. Everyone's body trembled. They couldn't believe the scene in front of them. A punch stained two holy lords with blood. Chapter 203. Jun Haotian's domineering attitude shocked everyone present. One had to know that he had just beaten up 2 sacred lords until they were vomiting blood. Every saint lord must also be a peerless genius. Perhaps 1,000 years ago, they were already influential figures in the Wuxian continent. They were definitely powerful and truly stood at the peak of the eastern wilderness. But what about Haotian's holy son? He was just a young genius who had risen recently. At most, he could be considered the strongest genius of the younger generation. But such an existence had actually caused 2 peerless sacred lords to suffer heavy injuries and even dyed the sky red with their blood. At such a young age, he had already achieved such glorious results. It was enough to shock the entire Wuxian continent. With Haotian's holy son's strength, he was truly worthy of the title of a peerless expert on the continent. Everyone who saw this scene felt as if they were in a dream. However, the scene before his eyes was so real. At that moment, Jun Haotian was standing in the sky. His purple robes fluttered in the wind. His gaze was as sharp as a knife, and he exuded a domineering aura. The 18 sacred lords' great universal boundless relic was indeed powerful. It had allowed him to reach the peak of the immortal longevity realm. According to Jun Haotian's estimation, he could still maintain the immortal longevity realm for 18 more incense sticks of time. Jun Haotian couldn't help but sigh in his heart. The small Layin temple's most precious treasure was indeed a good item. Of course, Jun Haoyan wasn't being arrogant right now. He also knew that this power didn't belong to him. His true strength was at the peak of the second level of the Transcendence realm. With his true strength, he wasn't able to fight against a sacred lord. If he successfully resolved this crisis this time, the small Lane Temple's contribution would be the greatest. All of this could only be settled after this battle ended. At that thought, Jun Haoyan slowly raised his head. His eyes shone with a strange light, and an extremely sharp aura appeared on his body. So this is the strength of a sacred lord. It seems like this is all there is to it? Jun Haoyan's lips curled into a smile. He ignored the anger on the two holy lords' faces and attacked again. Jun Haoyan's move was still the same as before, blasting out a fierce punch. Humph! Do you really think that you can defeat us by relying on external items? That's simply wishful thinking. Holy son of Haoyan, you are still too inexperienced. The real battle has only just begun. Upon hearing Jun Haoyan's mocking words, the Azure Cloud Sacred Leader and the All-Heaven Sacred Leader were enraged. As holy lords, they had actually been defeated by a young man. If news of this spread out, how could they still have the face to be holy lords? Although there is a saying that the student surpasses the master. But if it really happened to them, no one wanted to see it happen. As the most powerful cultivators in the eastern wilderness, they would never allow themselves to be defeated by a young boy. Moreover, they believed that Jun Haoyan's current strength had been boosted by external items. Soon it would disappear. Next, they had to use all their strength to suppress Jun Haoyan. Only then could they regain some of their dignity as holy lords. Subsequently, the Azure Cloud Sacred Leader and the All-Heaven Sacred Leader did not hesitate at all. In order to regain their dignity, they joined forces and executed a terrifying mystique. After all, the two holy lords were immortal realm cultivators. They could change the heavens and earth with just a lift of their hands. Under the combined efforts of the two holy lords, the entire heavens and earth changed. Even the wind and clouds changed color. In the next instant, Jun Haoyan stood next to the two of them. In an instant, the three of them had already exchanged more than 1,000 blows. The two holy lords were indeed the most powerful cultivators in the eastern wilderness. When they joined forces, they were even more terrifying. At this moment, the two of them had actually suppressed Jun Haoyan. The Azure Cloud Sacred Leader and the All-Heaven Sacred Leader did not hold back at all. Every move they made was fatal. They wanted to use Jun Haoyan's name to wash away their humiliation. Boom, boom, boom. The battle between the three of them was like a chaotic battle between ferocious beasts. It was earth-shattering and earth-shattering. Jun Haoyan's fists were like a primordial beast. Every time he punched out, the heaven and earth essence chi would collapse. If it were not for the fact that the Langya sacred ground was under him and was protected by the array, it would have collapsed. The combination of the all-secret word and the battle-secret word caused the door of heaven and earth to activate from time to time. The spear of underworld would also shoot out from time to time. In short, every time Jun Haoyan attacked, the two holy lords would tremble in fear. Such a method of attack was simply too violent. If they were not careful, they could be severely injured. At this moment, Jun Haoyan directly circulated the battle-secret character with a thought. In an instant, 10 times the combat strength exploded in Jun Haoyan's body. At the same time, there were 18 supremacies chanting scriptures behind Jun Haoyan. There were also 12 demon gods supporting him. After a while, Jun Haoyan finally found a flaw in the Green Cloud Saint Lord's defense and threw a punch at him. Boom. Jun Haoyan suddenly attacked the Azure Cloud Sacred Leader's flaw. Naturally, the Azure Cloud Sacred Leader could not dodge in time. In the end, Jun Haoyan's horrifying punch landed on the Azure Cloud Sacred Leader's shoulder. Boom. In the next moment, the Azure Cloud Sacred Leader's shoulder exploded. His black hair fell to the ground as he retreated and spat out mouthfuls of blood. At this moment, the Azure Cloud Sacred Leader's hair was disheveled and he was in a sorry state. He did not look like a sacred leader at all. His entire body crashed into the ground, creating a huge crater in the ground. After using the battle secret word, Jun Haoyan had defeated the Azure Cloud Sacred Leader in an instant. No wonder it was one of the 9 supreme esoteric words. The battle secret word was unparalleled. The strength of the attack was simply shocking. After defeating the Azure Cloud Sacred Leader, Jun Haoyan slowly turned his attention to the All-Heaven Sacred Leader. Previously, the Azure Cloud Sacred Leader and the All-Heaven Sacred Leader had worked together to suppress Jun Haoyan. But now that the Azure Cloud Sacred Leader was injured, he had to fight against Jun Haoyan alone. Seeing this, the All-Heaven Sacred Leader suddenly felt immense pressure. He looked at Jun Haoyan and was puzzled. The Holy Sun had broken through with the help of external items. Why hadn't he used up all his energy yet? He was also puzzled. His cultivation level was higher than Jun Haotian's. Why was his strength so much weaker than his? What the All-Heaven Sacred Leader did not know was that all this was caused by Jun Haotian's strength of the Hell-Crushing Divine Elephant. After cultivating the strength of the Hell-Crushing Divine Elephant, which was a supreme cultivation technique, whether it was in terms of strength or true essence, Jun Haotian was an unparalleled existence. Moreover, Jun Haotian had the battle secret word from the 9 supreme esoteric words. This power could not be described with the word terrifying. Feeling Jun Haotian's terrifying aura, the All-Heaven Sacred Leader felt as though he was in an endless hell and would be devoured in the next moment. Rumble. In the next moment, Jun Haotian finally found the All-Heaven Sacred Leader's weakness again. In the end, Jun Haotian did not hesitate and punched the All-Heaven Sacred Leader's chest. Poof. In the next moment, the All-Heaven Sacred Leader was sent flying. His chest exploded and his flesh and blood splattered everywhere. At this moment he could not even resist. At this point, the 2 sacred leaders had been defeated by Jun Haotian. Both of them were severely injured and could not use their peak strength. Countless people were dumbfounded when they saw Jun Haotian turn into a god of war. No matter what happened in the Langya sacred ground, Jun Haotian's name would spread across the martial god continent and even the surrounding continents. The whole world would hear of his name. At this moment, Jun Haotian's body was like an ancient sacred mountain. He stood still and was about to follow up with another attack. Dong. However, at this moment, a loud explosion attracted his attention. Tao Xian was sent flying back and collapsed in the Langya sacred ground. He had suffered a terrifying injury. At the same time, a powerful aura erupted from the extraterritorial region. The Langya mountain and river painting fell and retracted its divine power. It stood above the sacred ground and could not rush into the void again. Apparently, it was suppressed by the 2 supreme weapons. Just like Tao Xian, the outcome of the battle had been decided. The supreme weapons were suppressed and the sacred leader was defeated. Even though Jun Haotian was extremely terrifying in everyone's eyes, his ability was still limited. There were too many experts when the 5 forces joined forces. It was not something a single sacred ground could deal with. When the surrounding people saw this, they sighed slightly. Whether it was Tao Xian or Jun Haotian, their strength was beyond everyone's imagination. However, they were facing the 5 top forces. It was impossible for one person to defy the heavens. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. Facing the attack of the 5 top forces, this was the inevitable outcome. No one could stop them. Not even the powerful Holy Lord of Langya, Tao Xian, or the current Holy Son of Haotian. One had to know that they were facing the 5 top forces of the martial god continent. There were peerless experts like them in the sacred ground. This great battle was, in fact, a battle between experts. If they wanted to win, they had to defeat the experts of the other side. Otherwise, even if they sacrificed a lot in this battle, it would be useless. If Tao Xian and Haotian Holy Son of Haotian were defeated, there would be no chance of winning this battle. Haha, Haotian Holy Son of Haotian, so what if you win? Today, Langya sacred ground will be destroyed. At this moment, the Qingyun sacred leader and Luotian sacred leader appeared again and looked at Jun Haotian with a cold smile. Although they were seriously injured, it was not fatal. At this moment, they only wanted to see Jun Haotian fall. Only then could they wash away the humiliation they had suffered. For a mere junior to be able to achieve such a feat, it has indeed caused us to raise our eyebrows. However, it ends here. At this moment, Demon King Jiao slowly walked out of the void. Demon King Jiao was still as domineering as before. He did not seem to be in a sorry state after the battle. Although Tao Xian was powerful, it was already rare for him to be able to last so long in the hands of several sacred leaders. Demon King Jiao and he were both in the immortal realm. It was impossible for Tao Xian to injure Demon King Jiao while being surrounded by several people. This was also the reason why Demon King Jiao was so calm. If the 2 of them were to fight alone, Tao Xian would definitely not be defeated so easily, and Demon King Jiao would not be so relaxed. Unfortunately, Langya's sacred ground was facing the combined attack of 5 major forces at this moment. It was simply unrealistic for them to fight alone. Even if the 5 major forces had joined forces, they had already planned to use their strongest force to completely destroy Langya's sacred ground. Haha, you're just bullying me with numbers? If you have the guts, fight me alone. I, the Holy Sun, will defeat all of you one by one. Hearing this, Jun Haotian sneered and mocked. At this moment he was standing beside Tao Xian. Although he was not a sacred leader yet, The aura he exuded was not weaker than the Qingyun sacred leader and other sacred leaders. He truly had the bearing of an expert. When Demon King Jiao heard Jun Haoyan's words, he immediately smiled. Eliminating demons and protecting justice is a principle that everyone upholds. Why should we fight alone against those who have fallen into the demonic path and harbored demons? At this moment, the Alcade sacred leader spoke slowly. He was completely dismissive of Jun Haoyan's words. The winner was the king and the loser was the bandit. Merits and demerits had always been determined by the winner. This had been an iron law since ancient times. Today, under their joint forces, Langya's sacred ground was definitely going to be destroyed. From now on, the facts of today would be determined by them. And Langya's sacred ground would become a thing of the past. Future generations would talk about it and say that it was just a sect that had mistakenly fallen into the demonic path. Boom. It was also at this moment that the void shook, and two vast auras descended, suppressing Langya's sacred ground. They were the Alcade Cauldron and the Qingyun divine furnace of creation. They suppressed the void and the entire world. If Langya's mountain and river painting was not still emitting its power, Langya's sacred ground's array would have been shattered. But obviously this state could not be maintained for long. At this moment, Langya's mountain and river painting was already suppressed. Sooner or later, it would not be able to protect Langya's sacred ground. But once it lost the protection of the supreme weapon, the five forces could directly invade and attack Langya's sacred ground with all their might. At that time, Langya's sacred ground would have a hard time resisting. And at that time, the fate of Langya's sacred ground would be decided. No matter what you say today, Langya's sacred ground will not be captured without a fight. At this moment, Tao Xian, who was standing beside Jun Haoyan, spoke. At this moment, although he was severely injured, his life was not in danger. In fact, at Tao Xian's level, his body was no longer ordinary. After reaching the immortal realm, the human body had been refined and the state of life had undergone a qualitative change. Just like the battle between Jun Haoyan and the two holy masters earlier. Even if Jun Haoyan could defeat the two holy masters, he would not be able to defeat them. But if he wanted to kill the two holy masters, it would be difficult for him to do so. The higher the level, the stronger the power. This was the truth. Looks like Langya's sacred ground is going to be removed from the 7 great sacred grounds today. Tao Xian, do you think you can stop us with just one supreme weapon? That's right. Today, in order to destroy Langya's sacred ground, we have come prepared. Alcade Holy Master and the others spoke one after another. They looked at Tao Xian and Jun Haoyan and sneered. Although at this moment they could be considered to have suffered heavy casualties. But the 5 forces combined could still suppress Langya's sacred ground. Can you stop talking nonsense? If you want to fight, just fight. Don't bark here. Seeing Alcade Holy Master and the others chattering, Jun Haoyan was getting impatient and said directly. Behind him, the elders and disciples of the Langya sacred ground looked determined. They were ready to fight to the death and were ready for a great battle. Even though they were facing the crisis of being destroyed, no one ran away. Seeing this scene, Jun Haoyan was a little touched. If he did not identify with Tai's sacred ground in the past, it was completely different now. In order to protect him, everyone in the sacred ground had paid a high price. And he, Jun Haoyan, would not disappoint the people present. Okay, let's start. Alcade Holy Master took a step forward and True Origin surrounded him. Behind him, Azure Cloud Holy Master did the same. Rumble. They injected a powerful force into the supreme artifact to revive it once again. This time, they had to use the 2 supreme weapons to restrain Langya's mountain river painting. Only in this way could they kill without thinking about the consequences. Bus, bus, bus. At this moment, Langya's mountain river painting burst out with dazzling light. The mountains and rivers in it were as if they were about to be deified. The dazzling light swept across the entire area and resisted the 2 supreme weapons. No one knew how much pressure the supreme weapon of Langya sacred ground was under to resist the supreme weapons of the 2 sacred grounds. Seeing this, Demon King Jiao frowned slightly. The supreme weapons were indeed powerful, although they were not as strong. But it was very difficult to completely suppress a supreme weapon. It was very difficult for both supreme weapons to do so. At this moment, Holy Master All Heaven walked out with a smile on his face. He looked high-spirited. But whether it was the people watching from afar or the disciples and elders of Langya sacred ground, they all felt a terrifying pressure. Boom, boom, boom. At this moment, a huge war drum appeared behind Holy Master All Heaven. It was engraved with dragons and phoenixes and it was constantly rumbling. It was as if a supreme existence was beating the war drum. Just hearing the sound made one's blood boil. It was as if it was going to burst out of one's body. It was the supreme weapon of all heaven's sacred ground, the all-heaven war soul drum. This was a terrifying supreme weapon. If a supreme weapon were to beat it, the sound could even be transmitted to other small worlds. It was extremely terrifying. At this moment, the three supreme weapons appeared and emitted a terrifying pressure that could crush one's soul. At this moment, Langya's mountain river painting finally could not hold on any longer. This was the pressure of three supreme weapons. Everyone was sighing in sorrow. Three supreme being artifacts who could resist. The destruction of Langya's sacred ground was a foregone conclusion. Chapter 204. Seeing this scene, everyone sighed in their hearts. Could it be that the holy land of Langya, which had been passed down for hundreds of thousands of years, was really going to be destroyed today? In this battle, no one had expected that the five major forces would actually use three supreme artifacts. It could be said that the five major forces had put in a lot of effort this time. They were even more determined to destroy the holy land of Langya. After watching today's battle and witnessing Great Heaven's Holy Sun's strength, the powerhouses somewhat understood the five major forces' purpose of doing this. If it was based on Great Heaven's previous achievements, killing the Holy Sun of the three major holy lands, killing Prince Jiao and the Fox Prince. If it was just based on these, although Great Heaven's Holy Sun's talent was unparalleled and could be called the strongest of the heavenly talents. If it was just this, perhaps Demon King Jiao and the others would not be so determined to kill Great Heaven's Holy Sun. However, today's battle forced the five major forces to kill Great Heaven's Holy Sun. Great Heaven's Holy Sun had only cultivated for a short period of time, but he had already reached the level where he could fight two holy lords. If he was given a few more days to grow stronger, he might not even put holy master-level existences in his eyes. Now, after this battle, Langya and the five major forces were already in a situation where only one of them would die. There was no way to resolve it. If they did not kill Great Heaven's Holy Sun today and let him escape, when he grew stronger in the future, no one in the five major forces would be his match. Therefore, the five major forces' holy lords had already made up their minds. In this battle, they had to kill Great Heaven's Holy Sun, this monster. Other than that, there was no other way. In this battle, the stronger Great Heaven's Holy Sun was, the more monstrous he was. Then, the five major forces' desire to kill him would be even stronger. Their desire to kill Great Heaven's Holy Sun would be even more determined. Otherwise, they would not have spent so many resources to use three supreme artifacts. At this moment, the three supreme artifacts were emitting a destructive aura as they floated in the void. The soul-stirring aura emanating from it was enough to annihilate all living beings. With the three supreme weapons working together, Langya's mountain and river diagram had no way of resisting. It was suppressed by the three supreme weapons. Now, the Langya mountain and river diagram was suppressed and could not protect the Langya sacred land. Faced with such a situation, the five major forces could immediately charge into the Langya sacred ground. Buzz. At this moment, the void rumbled once again. It was the sound of Langya's mountain and river diagram. It sounded like the wailing of a supreme weapon. It looked extremely tragic, just like the desperate situation that the Langya sacred land was facing. This was the supreme weapon's final cry of sorrow. No one could save it. Boom. At this moment, Demon King Jiao and the others slowly took a step forward. Now that the Langya mountain and river diagram had lost its effect, they finally decided to go all out and kill all the disciples of the Langya Holy Land. Tao Xian, I've already given you 3 chances. You're the one who didn't cherish them. Today, whether it's the so-called Langya sacred land or the so-called Holy Sun of Haotian, they'll all be destroyed in our hands. Now, even your supreme weapons are being suppressed. Let's see who can save you. Today, Langya sacred land will perish. Demon King Jiao and the others looked at the Langya sacred land with extremely cold eyes. They looked at the Langya disciples as if they were looking at a bunch of dead people. Subsequently, the Azure Cloud Sacred Leader, the Alcade Sacred Leader, and the All-Heaven Sacred Leader channeled their true yuan into the supreme weapons again. This time, they wanted to use the power of the 3 supreme weapons to completely suppress the Langya mountain and river diagram. In the next moment, a monstrous aura swept across the entire Langya sacred land. Under this aura, the entire Langya sacred land was affected. Even an immortal like the Supreme Elder was trembling. The aura that the 3 supreme weapons revealed at the same time was too terrifying. Even the immortal realm powerhouses found it difficult to withstand. At this rate, they would die under this aura before the battle even began. The Langya sacred land couldn't protect you after all. Tao Xian, who was beside Jun Haotian, looked at Jun Haotian with a dejected expression. At this moment, Tao Xian was exuding a lonely aura. As the Holy Lord of Langya, he naturally did not want to see the Langya sacred land destroyed. Moreover, he had never expected that such a day would come. The Langya sacred land would eventually be destroyed by his hands. One had to know that the Langya sacred land had been passed down for a full 100,000 years. But even so, Dao Xian did not utter a single word of dissatisfaction towards Jun Haotian from beginning to end. In his heart, since the day Jun Haotian took over the position of the Holy Son of Langya, the Langya sacred land had Yiwu to protect him. As the Holy Son of Langya, they had to protect him to the end, no matter what happened. This was the principle that Tao Xian had always adhered to in his heart. He had never regretted the outcome of today's battle. Holy Lord. At this moment, Jun Haotian's voice rang in Tao Xian's ears. In the face of such a dangerous situation, Jun Haotian's face was still calm, without a trace of fear. Tao Xian raised his head and looked at Jun Haotian, but he was slightly stunned. At this moment, Jun Haotian was still as elegant as before. The aura of the supreme weapon that swept across the void did not seem to have any effect on him. His body was still as straight as a pencil, and he did not bend under the pressure of the supreme weapon. In the face of Tao Xian's gaze, Jun Haotian's eyes were extremely calm, like an ancient well. With his hands behind his back, he said slowly, "The Langya sacred land will not be destroyed today, and it will not be destroyed in the future. These small fries do not have the ability to destroy the Langya sacred land." Under the void, Jun Haotian still made his arrogant declaration. However, when Jun Haotian said this, not only Tao Xian was puzzled, but even the spectators were puzzled. At this point, what kind of trump card did the Holy Son of Haotian have that he dared to make such an arrogant statement? In the next moment, the Holy Son of Haotian slowly took a step forward in front of everyone's eyes. He looked at the three supreme weapons floating in the void without a trace of nervousness, and he was not affected in the slightest. It was also at this moment that the void trembled, and the sky changed color again. Countless people only felt an incomparably cold aura suddenly sweep out from Jun Haotian's body. That was a supreme aura, a terrifying pressure that could crush everything. Demon King Jiao and the others were slightly shocked. They immediately opened their eyes and looked down. At the same time, Jun Haotian once again received the attention of countless people. Everyone saw him standing in the air. He was indomitable, standing between the sky and the earth, between his eyebrows. A simple and unadorned immortal bell slowly appeared and enlarged, emitting beams of resplendent light. It suddenly appeared just like that, emitting an aura that could suppress the world. Dong. It was also at this moment that the ancient immortal bell gently vibrated. Boom. Countless people retreated. The expressions of Demon King Jiao and the others changed drastically as they looked at the bell. The aura it emitted was incomparably terrifying. It had the power to suppress the 9 underworlds and attack the 9 heavens. Especially the endless divine light that illuminated the boundless sky. All kinds of mysterious runes were engraved on the immortal bell, and strands of vast divine might were constantly hanging down. After it appeared, the entire void and land underwent a huge change. Even the array formation below the Langya sacred ground began to riot. The 3 supreme weapons of the 5 great factions also emitted endless divine light. They actually stopped suppressing the Langya mountain and river diagram and fought against the immortal bell. This was because the 3 supreme weapons had already sensed that this immortal bell was going to destroy them. At this moment, the immortal bell shot out rays of divine light, as if it was the most terrifying existence in the world. It seemed to have appeared from the long river of time, illuminating the ancient times. Every ray of divine light was incomparably blazing. Everyone was shocked. That vast aura was about to crush the sky. No matter who it was, they would wail in their hearts after sensing this aura. That inexplicable aura swept through millions of miles of rivers and mountains. The brilliant heavenly might shook. It actually did not retreat in the face of the 3 great emperor weapons. This is actually a supreme weapon. How could the Holy Son of Haotian have a supreme weapon? That's not right. Why do I feel that this sovereign artifact is extremely terrifying? It seems like even the 3 sovereign artifacts are showing signs of submitting to it. Countless people were shaken. Even though they were far away, they could still feel the pressure. This was a truly supreme aura that could suppress all the supreme existences in the 3,000 worlds. The expressions of Demon King Jiao and the others changed drastically as their bodies began to tremble. An immortal bell stood in the void, causing the momentum of the ancient times to collapse. Chapter 2. Shocking. At this moment, the immortal bell was floating above Jun Haotian's head. The aura emitted from it caused everyone present to be unable to breathe. Even Demon King Jiao and the others looked defeated. The might of this immortal bell was simply too strong. It was as if there was a living supreme being expert floating in the void right now. Even the three supreme weapons that were in a stalemate with Langya's mountain and river painting had turned around to resist the aura of this immortal bell. At this moment, Demon King Jiao's eyes were filled with disbelief as he looked at the immortal bell in the void. He could not believe what he was seeing. The holy son of Haotian actually had a supreme weapon in his hands. Moreover, the power of this supreme weapon was even stronger than the three supreme weapons on his side. It was definitely a top-grade supreme weapon. At this moment, the Azure Cloud Saint Master and the others could even feel that their three supreme weapons were unable to suppress this immortal bell. They were even showing signs of being pushed back by this immortal bell. How is this possible? Where did the holy son of Haotian get his supreme weapon? There's no such supreme weapon in Wuxia continent. This is simply unbelievable. The holy son of Haotian actually has a supreme weapon as his trump card. Impossible. This can't be real. How could he have a supreme weapon? Moreover, it's a top-grade supreme weapon. Looking at the scene in the void, the three Saint Masters' faces were as pale as paper. They could not believe it. At this moment, the immortal bell above Jun Haotian's head was emitting an extremely powerful aura. It definitely had the power to crush everything. No one present could remain unscathed under this supreme weapon. Even the supreme weapons in their hands could not resist the power of this immortal bell. At this moment, Tao Xin's eyes were wide open as he stared at the bell above Jun Haotian's head. His eyes were filled with disbelief. He had never expected Jun Haotian to be able to take out a supreme weapon. One had to admit that Jun Haotian's trump card was simply too shocking. This was a supreme artifact. Only a force like the Holy Land or the dynasty could possess such a terrifying existence. However, at this moment, a supreme weapon had appeared in Jun Haotian's hand. Furthermore, this utmost exalted weapon was no ordinary utmost exalted weapon. Just its aura alone was enough to suppress the other three supreme weapons. It was simply too terrifying. At this moment, Tao Xin suddenly recalled what Jun Haotian had said to him earlier. The Langya Holy Lands would not be destroyed. At this moment, Tao Xin finally understood the meaning of this sentence. That's right, the Langya Holy Lands would definitely not be destroyed today. In fact, Jun Haotian had taken out such a frightening utmost exalted weapon. Even if Jun Haotian had taken out a supreme weapon that was as powerful as the Langya mountain and river painting, it would still be able to guarantee that the Langya Holy Lands would not be destroyed. For the top forces of the martial god continent, possessing a supreme weapon was nothing more than a threat. More importantly, it should be an extremely terrifying trump card. Any supreme weapon, even the most ordinary supreme weapon, would be able to suppress everything. Now, Jun Haotian had taken out a supreme weapon to truly protect the Langya Holy Lands. Naturally, all the disciples of the Langya Holy Lands had also witnessed this scene. At this moment, they were all shocked and in disbelief. In fact, they were so excited that they could not even speak. When they were facing the most desperate moment, their holy son, the person they were protecting, had taken out a supreme weapon at this critical moment. This was like holding a trump card. With this supreme weapon, they could reverse the current situation at any time. Humph, holy son of Haotian, so what if you have taken out a supreme weapon? The three supreme weapons on our side have not been fully used yet. After the Alcade holy leader recovered from his shock, he looked at Jun Haotian with great fear. In this battle, in order to completely destroy the Langya Holy Lands, all of them had taken out their trump cards. The three holy lands of the eastern wilderness had even taken out their supreme weapons at all costs. This time, the Langya Holy Lands would definitely be destroyed. But now, the holy son of Haotian had taken out a supreme weapon directly. At this moment, the holy son of Haotian had completely turned the situation around and saved everything. How could the Alcade holy leader and the rest accept this scene? They had paid such a huge price for their comeback, and they had to destroy the Langya Holy Lands. They knew very well that if Jun Haotian survived this battle, he would definitely be a genius. When he grew up, with his demonic talent, one day Jun Haotian would definitely take revenge on him. Just like the Kunlun Holy Ground and the Linglong Holy Leader back then. The Kunlun Holy Ground did not kill the Linglong Holy Leader when she was still weak, which led to endless troubles in the end. It caused a lot of trouble for the #1 holy land of the human race. For a period of time, they could not even keep their title as the #1 holy land. If not for the fact that the Kunlun Holy Ground was strong enough and had a strong foundation, the Linglong Holy Leader would have overturned it directly. And now, the holy son of Haotian was like the Linglong holy leader of the past. When he grew up, it could be said that there would be endless troubles in the future. Everyone in the five forces knew that they could not let the Langya holy ground breathe, and they could not let the holy son of Haotian live. Otherwise everything would be over. When they thought of this, they no longer hesitated. With Demon King Jiao and the rest taking the lead, they directly took a step forward and attacked one after another, erupting with terrifying true origin without any scruples. They directly poured their true origin into the three supreme weapons, wanting to completely revive them. Now only the supreme weapons could save the current situation. Boom, boom, boom. The void rumbled as the Alcate Cauldron, Qingyun Universal Furnace of Creation, and Luotian War Soul Drum all surged with vast and unparalleled power. The entire world was in a riot. Even the ground that was protected by the Great Array could not hold on at this moment. It cracked open as if the land was about to sink. The spectators retreated again and again, their eyes filled with horror. They really did not expect the battle to escalate once again. It was truly immortal. From the looks of it, only one of the two forces could survive. The pressure of the three supreme weapons shook the world, and the vast and boundless power swept through the world. The stars and sun in the void were shaking as if the world was about to be destroyed. The three supreme weapons of the five forces had completely awakened at this moment, emitting a terrifying power as if they were about to split the world apart. Thousands of rays of light shot out, enveloping the entire area. The endless mountains and rivers were shaking, and countless creatures were kowtowing. The power of the supreme weapons was enough to shake the world. Not many people could withstand it. It was also at this moment that Tao Shen once again controlled the supreme weapon, wanting to attack. It's fine. One bell is enough to deal with three supreme weapons. At this moment, Jun Haotian spoke, telling Tao Shen not to interfere. The latter hesitated for a moment, but he still chose to believe in Jun Haotian. He immediately retreated and used the Langya mountain and river diagram to envelop the Holy Land to prevent it from being destroyed by the battle. At this moment, countless people only saw the Holy Son of Haotian walking out and slowly standing beside the immortal bell. More than half of the 18 incense sticks' time had passed, and Jun Haotian's immortal longevity realm cultivation had not completely disappeared. Therefore at this moment he calmed his mind and poured all the power in his body into the immortal bell. Awaken. In the next moment, Jun Haotian poured almost 80% of his true essence into it. It was also at this moment that the immortal bell shot out endless light, facing the layers of attacks of the three supreme weapons without fear. In an instant, countless people only felt that the entire world had fallen silent, and time had slowed down. Dong. A bell rang, turning into a circle of light visible to the naked eye, slowly spreading from Jun Haotian's body. At this moment, the sound of the bell rang, shattering billions of stars in the outer realm and resounding throughout the entire universe. At this moment, countless experts in the 3,000 worlds looked up at the void, as if they could hear the sound of the bell. At this moment, the sound of the bell rang through the endless plains, even penetrating the 3,000 worlds and reaching the divine realm. Chapter 205. Dong. The sound of a bell filled with an ancient aura rang out between heaven and earth. Everyone's heart and soul were shaken. Countless people felt a sharp pain in their bodies, and in the next moment, numerous cracks appeared on their bodies. Even the peerless experts in the immortal realm felt their internal organs tremble. Blood flowed out of their mouths and their faces turned pale. The sound of the bell was like the sound of extinction. Everywhere it passed, it left behind a tragic scene. This was a power that they could not resist. This power could easily control their lives. At this moment, the surrounding experts looked at the no-beginning bell in horror under the suppression of the immortal bell. They wanted to leave this place, but they realized in despair that they could not leave under the suppression of the no-beginning bell. This immortal bell was like the law of heaven, imprisoning them in place. Even their primordial spirits and Dharma idols were no exception. They could only endure all of this silently. They could not resist. The culprit behind all of this was not just a single sound of the no-beginning bell. At this moment, Jun Haotian stood beside the no-beginning bell. His purple robe fluttered in the wind, and he looked extraordinary. His gaze was fixed on the void in front of him, and there was a hint of disdain in his eyes. There were the three supreme weapons that Demon King Jiao and the others were controlling. At this moment, the three supreme weapons were emitting endless power. However, when the bell of no beginning began to ring, the entire area was locked down. All the power in the void had been sealed. Looking at this scene, the top experts of the 5 major forces, including Demon King Jiao and the others, could not help but tremble slightly. Perhaps because they were very close to the no-beginning bell, Demon King Jiao and the others felt the greatest pressure. Even as peerless experts in the immortal realm, they were shocked to find that they could not use the true origin in their bodies. They could only watch as Jun Haoyan continued to awaken the no-beginning bell. They felt an extremely vast power on the immortal bell that seemed to be able to suppress everything. Demon King Jiao and the others could vaguely sense that there seemed to be a figure sitting cross-legged on the no-beginning bell in front of them. Just the back of the bell was enough to crush the entire world. Even the martial god continent could not withstand it. The figure sat cross-legged in front of them, suppressing everything. It was as if even the true supreme of this world could not compare to that person's back view. What terrifying existence is this immortal bell exactly? At this moment, such thoughts surfaced in their minds. Being suppressed by the bell of no beginning, they could not do anything else. They could only watch everything unfold in front of them. Even the three supreme being weapons above their heads were suppressed by the might of the bell of no beginning. What shocked Demon King Jiao and the others even more was that, under the power of the bell of no beginning, the three supreme beings were unable to resist at all and were instantly suppressed. This scene caused Demon King Jiao and the others to be in disbelief. No matter how strong this immortal bell was, it was still a supreme weapon. How could it be suppressed so easily? Outside the arena, when everyone saw this scene, they were shocked. At the same time, they wondered if they were dreaming. Originally, the supreme weapon of the Langya Sacred Ground had been suppressed, and the five forces had planned to destroy the Langya Sacred Ground in one fell swoop. However, after the Holy Son of Haoyan summoned this immortal bell, the situation was instantly reversed. In fact, he had even ruthlessly suppressed the five major forces. Boom. Just like that, everyone was imprisoned on the spot. After an unknown period of time, a bell chime sounded between heaven and earth again. At this moment, everyone felt as if thousands of years had passed. When everyone regained consciousness, the chime of the immortal bell also disappeared at the same time. The immortal bell once again returned to its original state, quietly standing above Jun Haoyan's head. Rumble. It was also at this moment that another explosion came from the void. It was soul-stirring. Then a shocking scene happened. In the void, the three supreme being weapons above the heads of Demon King Jiao and the others were trembling slightly. This scene caused everyone's pupils to constrict. The supreme being weapons were actually trembling. Countless people suddenly felt a bone-piercing chill in their hearts. What was it that made the supreme being weapons tremble? The supreme being weapons represented the will of a supreme being. Now that the supreme being weapons were trembling, it meant that a supreme being was trembling. What kind of existence could make an honorable supremacy tremble? Could it be that the immortal bell in the hands of the Holy Son of Haoyan had surpassed the supreme being weapon category? After all, if they were all supreme being weapons, how could it suppress three supreme being weapons in an instant? Surpass the supreme being weapon category? Could it be that the immortal bell in the hands of the Holy Son of Haoyan was a treasure from the realm of the gods? At this moment, almost everyone had this thought in their minds. Crack. At this moment, the heavens and earth seemed to shake, and there was a sudden shattering sound. There was a strong sense of sorrow in the sound, causing everyone's heart to tremble. Hearing this sound, the Green Cloud Sacred Leader, the Alcade Sacred Leader, and the Heavenly Sacred Leader's expressions changed drastically. Then they slowly raised their heads and looked up. Then there was a look of disbelief in their eyes, as if they had seen something horrifying. Above them there were three supreme being weapons suppressed by the no-beginning bell. The Alcade Cauldron, the Green Cloud Divine Furnace of Creation, and the All-Heaven War Soul Drum had all cracked at the same time. There was a fatal crack on each of the supreme being weapons. It was a frightening sight to behold. If the crack continued to expand, the three supreme being weapons would most likely shatter. Seeing this, the three sacred leaders could not help but hold their breaths. Looking at the cracked supreme being weapons, they felt a chill run down their spines. If the three supreme being weapons were destroyed, then from then on, the Green Cloud Sacred Ground, the All-Heaven Sacred Ground, and the Alcade Sacred Ground would only exist in name. Without the supreme being weapons, the sacred grounds would not have the resources to continue to hold the title. The reason why the 7 sacred grounds of the human tribe could be passed down for hundreds of thousands of years was because of the supreme being weapons. Without the supreme being weapons, how could they be called the human tribe sacred grounds? If the 3 supreme being weapons were destroyed here, the human tribe would only have the 4 sacred grounds left. Boom. At this moment, the 3 supreme being weapons in the void suddenly vibrated violently. Sorrowful cries could be heard from the supreme being weapons. In the next moment, the three Supreme Being weapons seemed to have awakened their spiritual intelligence. A dazzling divine light suddenly appeared on their bodies, and they actually broke free from the suppression of the bell of no beginning. They directly turned into three streams of light that pierced through the entire heaven and earth, and went in three different directions. They disappeared. The Supreme Being weapons actually escaped. And all three Supreme Being weapons escaped? Seeing this scene, everyone was dumbfounded. The three Supreme Being weapons did not even have the courage to face the bell of no beginning. They just ran away. What's going on? Why did the three Supreme Being weapons disappear? Could it be that the three Supreme Being weapons did not dare to fight the bell of no end and ran away? This is unbelievable. Even the Supreme Being weapons are afraid of fighting. Supreme Being. That's a Supreme Being. An invincible Supreme Being. As an extension of their will, the Supreme Being weapons do not dare to fight? At this moment, countless powerhouses looked at this scene as if they were in a dream. They could not believe what they were seeing. Since the beginning of time, in the hearts of all martial artists, the Supreme Being weapons were the Supreme Beings. This point of view was the same even in the entire Trichiliocosm. Even in the Black-Yellow continent, which was ranked first in the Trichiliocosm, the most powerful being, there was also a Supreme Being weapon. It could be said that in the Trichiliocosm below the realm of the gods, the Supreme Being weapons were the most powerful and invincible beings. But now, under the pressure of the bell of no end, the Supreme Being weapons actually ran away and disappeared. What did this mean? This meant that a Supreme Being weapon ran away without a fight. Seeing this scene, not only was Demon King Jiao and the rest shocked, but even Tao Xian and the rest were dumbfounded. At this moment, Tao Xian could clearly feel that the Langya landscape illustration in his hand was trembling. Just like the three Supreme Being weapons, it was also afraid of the bell of no end. Tao Xian took a deep look at the bell of no beginning. His heart was throbbing. This bell of no end was so powerful that it could not be any more terrifying. Impossible, this is impossible. How could a Supreme Being weapon run away? At this moment, Saint Master Qing Yun and the rest finally came to their senses, and their faces turned extremely pale. They had never thought that a Supreme Being weapon that had been passed down for hundreds of thousands of years would actually run away at this critical moment. At this moment, even their final trump card had disappeared. How were they going to fight against the Langya sacred ground? As for destroying the Langya sacred ground, that was even more of a pipe dream. Then, at this moment, the three holy masters suddenly felt their hearts palpitating. They felt that a peerless crisis was approaching. It was like a surging river and there was no way to avoid it. In the next moment, Demon King Jiao and the rest looked up and were instantly shocked. At this moment, Jun Haotian was standing in the void with the bell of no end above his head. He was taking one step at a time. With every step he took, the mountains and earth would shake, the void would explode and the stars would dim. When they saw this scene, the hearts of everyone shook and they were extremely terrified. Could it be that the Holy Son of Haotian was going to attack the five superpowers? Yes. Now that the three Supreme Being weapons of the five superpowers had run away, they had lost their trump card to fight against the Langya sacred ground. However, the Holy Son of Haotian still had a terrifying treasure, the Bell of No End. Even a Supreme Being weapon had been scared away by the Bell of No End. How could Demon King Jiao and the rest be a match for the Bell of No End? Once the Bell of No End unleashed its power, it would definitely cause the world to collapse. At this moment, Jun Haotian's expression did not change. Just like before, he looked down on the people of the five superpowers. Now it's time to settle the score. This sentence carried a monstrous murderous intent, and it was terrifying and resolute. It was like the judgment of the god of hell. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. After the previous scene, no one dared to underestimate the Holy Son of Haotian anymore, because they were not qualified to do so. Even though the Holy Son of Haotian was only a young man, he already had the means of a holy master. With his current power, he was not any weaker than a real holy master. He already had the domineering aura of an expert, and it was terrifying. Whether it was strength or aura, it was enough to make him one of the top experts in Eastern Wilderness. Although the Holy Son of Haotian's cultivation was only at the peak of the second level of the Transcendence realm. However, for a top genius like him, increasing his cultivation base was never a big problem. In the void, Jun Haotian took a step forward and arrived in front of Demon King Jiao and the rest. He looked down at them condescendingly. A hint of mockery appeared in his eyes. His attitude was the same as when Demon King Jiao and the rest looked at Langya's disciples. But now the two of them had swapped positions. The prey had become the hunter. Everyone present could feel Jun Haoyin's vast killing intent. It was as if it had materialized. It was as if it wanted to envelop everyone. As long as they were slightly closer, they would be pulled in by that aura. There was no way to retreat. Seeing this scene, everyone present sighed with emotion. In the time it took for a few incense sticks to burn, the situation on the battlefield had undergone an earth-shattering change. This speed of change really made everyone dumbfounded. It was difficult to accept, especially for the 5 major forces in Langya's sacred ground. They had never thought that it would reach such a situation. Now, the Langya sacred ground and the 5 major forces were already in a situation where they would not rest until one of them was dead. There was no room for reconciliation. It was just like how the 5 major forces wanted to exterminate the Langya sacred ground previously. Now that the Langya sacred ground had the upper hand, Jun Haoyin naturally would not show mercy. He wanted to kill all the 5 major forces that had come to invade them. Not a single one would be left alive. Jun Haoyin's style had always been, if others did not offend him, he would not offend them. If others offended him, he would definitely kill them. Sensing the killing intent emanating from Jun Haoyin's body, no one doubted Jun Haoyin's determination. After all, the impression that Jun Haoyin had left on the world in the past was that he was strong and domineering. Especially after he said that sentence, everyone knew that today was destined to be a bloodbath. Let's settle the score. We have only lost temporarily. Seeing Jun Haoyin's domineering attitude, although the Alcade sacred leader was extremely fearful, he still put on a tough face. As the Alcade sacred leader, he could not back down no matter what. This was the dignity of a sacred leader. However, the so-called dignity of the Alcade sacred leader was not even worth mentioning in Jun Haoyin's eyes. At that moment, Jun Haoyin looked coldly at the Alcade sacred leader and said slowly, "Alcade sacred leader, you have inverted right and wrong. You should be killed." He actually declared that he wanted to kill the Alcade sacred leader directly. Just as everyone was stunned, Jun Haoyin made his move at that moment. The immortal bell above his head emitted streaks of sharp light and kept descending. It merged with Jun Haoyin's body. A shocking radiance exploded from his body. In just an instant he appeared in front of the Alcade sacred leader. Without any hesitation or extra movements, Jun Haoyin directly threw out a punch. With a terrifying fist print in his hand, Jun Haoyin directly turned into a transcendent being. Boom! Under the astonishment of countless people, this punch was as vast and boundless as the collision between stars. The Alcade sacred leader's body was cold and his face was pale. However, he still made his move in an instant. However, at that moment, Jun Haoyin not only had the cultivation of the peak immortal longevity realm with the help of the 18 Supremacy's great salvation immeasurable relic, but he also had the immortal bell. Even he himself did not know how powerful he had become with the protection of the immortal bell. Rumble. As though the void had exploded, Jun Haoyin's move this time was extremely terrifying. The Alcade sacred leader had the strength of the immortal creator realm and was extremely powerful. However, in front of Jun Haoyin, who had the infinite bell, he could not withstand a single blow. In just an instant, the Alcade sacred leader's body trembled. His true origin energy was directly dissolved by Jun Haoyin's punch. At that moment, the Alcade sacred leader only felt that he was in a vast river and could be destroyed at any time. His entire body retreated explosively, his chest and shoulders directly exploding, turning into an endless mist of blood. The true origin energy around his body was instantly scattered, and he could not retaliate at all. This scene made countless people's scalps tingle. A lord of a holy land was injured just like that? Just how powerful was the holy son of Haoyin? And this was under the circumstance that he had not awakened the supreme artifact. It was also at this moment that the expressions of Demon King Jiao and the others changed drastically as they retreated slightly. These people were not afraid of Jun Haoyin. In fact, there was nothing in the Langya sacred ground that could make them fearful enough. However, that immortal bell was too terrifying. Even with their strength they could not resist it. If they did not leave, they were afraid that they would be directly dealt with. With a supreme artifact they did not have the strength to fight back at all. Just as they were about to leave, a terrifying aura descended. The immortal bell above Jun Haoyin's head rang faintly. As it rumbled continuously, rays of divine light shot out, enveloping the surrounding 10,000 miles of radiance. He used the supreme artifact to seal the void. Does he not want us to escape? Damn it. Does he really want to deal with us one by one? The Green Cloud sacred leader and the All Heaven sacred leader's faces changed drastically. After sensing that the surrounding void had been sealed, they were infuriated. However, it was useless no matter how angry they were. The void had been sealed by the immortal bell. Even with their strength they could not escape. Let's attack together. Otherwise we will all die here. At this moment the Alcade sacred leader shouted. His body was about to explode and he was covered in blood. He was in an extremely sorry state, and he no longer had the majesty of a sacred leader. However, at this moment Jun Haoyan threw another punch. Boom. Heaven and earth rumbled as the true origin energy collapsed. Half of the Alcade sacred leader's body exploded, and he was in a miserable state. He did want to fight back but he really could not do it. With the protection of the immortal bell, Jun Haoyan was useless no matter what the Alcade sacred leader did. He could not break through the immortal bell's defense. What Jun Haoyan needed to do was to keep attacking. Bus. In the next moment the Alcade sacred leader's body recovered. This was the power of an undying realm expert. Other than his head he could regrow his body. However, doing so would consume his source energy. Once the front part of his source energy was exhausted, he would die. However, the Alcade sacred leader could not care so much now. He could only maintain his peak state. Then he would join forces with Demon King Jiao and the others. Only then would they be able to resist Jun Haoyan's terrifying attack. This was his last hope. Just as the Alcade sacred leader shouted that sentence, Demon King Jiao and the others reacted. Jun Haoyan would not let a single person off today. They could not escape. Instead of being beaten up, they might as well take the initiative to attack. Thinking of this, the four experts joined forces and activated their strongest power. They took out their most terrifying Dharma treasures to break through Jun Haoyan's defense. However, at this moment, Jun Haoyan ignored them and directly appeared above the Alcade sacred leader's head. He threw out another punch with great force as if a god had descended. At this moment, the Alcade sacred leader's head exploded. In the blink of an eye, blood rained down. Chapter 206. At that moment the entire sky seemed to be dyed red. Everyone's gaze was focused in that direction. Alcade's sacred leader was dead? Even some of the sempiternal realm giants trembled when they saw this scene, and their expressions changed drastically. They stared at the scene in the void in disbelief. The Alcade sacred leader had already become famous 1,000 years ago. In that generation, the Alcade sacred leader could definitely be said to be one of the strongest prodigies. In the end, Alcade's sacred leader had won the position of Alcade's sacred leader in front of many competitors. From a famous supreme talent, he had successfully become one of the top figures in the martial god continent. He had an important position. In everyone's eyes, Alcade's sacred leader's life was full of legends. Many people envied him. However, what had happened today had completely ended Alcade's sacred leader's legendary life. A newly ascended prodigy had actually stepped on the head of the Alcade sacred lord and blasted his head apart with a single punch. As everyone knew, when a martial artist's cultivation reached the immortal realm, their lifespan would be more than 10,000 years. If there were no accidents, they would not die. Even if their limbs were chopped off, they could regrow their limbs. When a martial artist reached the immortal realm, no matter which part of his body was damaged, he could recover it. Even if his head was chopped off, he could still continue to live. However, if a martial artist below the immortal realm had his head chopped off, he would definitely die. Only people like the Holy Lord of Langya and Tao Xian who had reached the immortal realm could become immortal and regrow their heads. However, everyone knew that although the Alcade Saint Sovereign was very strong, he still hadn't reached the undying realm. He was only at the peak of the immortal realm. Although he was only one step away, this step was like a deep abyss that was difficult to cross. Now, his head had been smashed by Hao Tian's holy son in front of everyone's eyes. This meant that the Alcade sacred leader was going to disappear from this world. Until this moment, no one present had reacted in time. They still could not believe what they had seen. A sacred leader who stood at the peak of the martial god continent, one of the 7 sacred grounds, had been killed just like that. Not to mention the younger generation, even the old monsters who had lived for thousands of years had never seen such a scene. A Saint Lord had actually been beaten to death by a junior. If word got out, it would definitely cause a huge uproar. In the past, the fall of a sacred lord was definitely the most sensational event on the martial god continent. But today, the peerless battle prowess that Jun Haoyan displayed had completely suppressed this feeling of dread. Everyone felt numb after witnessing Jun Haoyan's terrifying performance. At this moment, Demon King Jiao and the others also stopped running. They looked at the Alcade sacred leader who had been killed by Jun Haoyan with a single punch. 5 holy lords had besieged the Langya holy grounds, and now one of them had actually fallen. No one would believe such a result even if they told others about it. In terms of the 5 great factions, the Alcade Sacred Masters faction had suffered heavy losses. I can't run anymore. If I leave my back to him, he will have a chance. If we split up, we will die sooner or later. The Alcade Sacred Leader couldn't even withstand one blow from him. If we continue to split up, I'm afraid I will be next. Everyone, don't hold back. Otherwise, we might not have the chance to display our full strength in the future. Seeing the tragic death of the Alcade Sacred Leader, the Green Cloud Sacred Leader and the All-Heaven Sacred Leader, who were only at the Immortal Creator realm, were completely flustered. In order to save their lives, they didn't dare to hold back anymore. At this moment, the surrounding void had been sealed by the supreme weapon. All the people they had brought with them were also held back by Tao Xian. Without their obstruction, Tao Xian was at the immortal realm and no one could match up to him. Now that their supreme weapon had run away, they could only rely on themselves. Then the few of them stopped running and started to team up again. A few extremely powerful forces started to gather together, and their power was overwhelming. After seeing the outcome of the Alcade Sacred Leader, they naturally knew that if they split up, they wouldn't be a match for the Holy Son of Hao Tian. They would be defeated one by one and killed one by one. However, when Jun Haotian saw that they had teamed up again, his expression didn't change at all. In fact, there was even a trace of disdain in his pitch-black eyes. The few people in front of him were considered the most powerful people in the martial god continent. At this moment, in order to survive, they were actually teaming up to deal with a junior. Such a scene was inconceivable to everyone. Compared to Tao Xian's unyielding attitude when facing the 5 top experts, the few top experts' behavior was really despicable. However, was it useful for them to team up? Looking at Demon King Jiao and the others, Jun Haotian couldn't help but sneer. He was determined to kill these people today. It was useless no matter who came. Then Jun Haotian slowly took a step forward. Various kinds of intense divine light filled his body. It was dazzling and overbearing. He displayed the power of a peerless expert. Holy Lord All-Heaven, Holy Lord Azure Cloud, you can't tell right from wrong. You joined forces with Holy Lord Alcade and are accomplices. You should be killed. Looking at Demon King Jiao and the others, Jun Haotian spoke again like a god, announcing their execution. At this moment, Jun Haotian was like the ruler of life and death, deciding the fate of these people. In the next moment, Jun Haotian didn't waste any time. He directly circulated his true origin and attacked them. At this moment, he could only stay in the immortal longevity realm for the time it takes 3 incense sticks to burn. There wasn't much time left, so he had to hurry. Boom, boom, boom. In the next moment, the entire void began to tremble. Jun Haotian punched out with the bell of no beginning above his head. The secret of all, the secret of battle, the divine elephant overpowering force, the indestructible divine body, and other terrifying divine abilities and cultivation techniques were all activated at this moment. When Demon King Jiao and the others saw this, they also joined forces completely. Bursts of abstruse and mysterious light burst out from their bodies in an attempt to resist Jun Haotian's terrifying attack. This move carried the supreme power of Jun Haotian from the bell of no beginning. Although he didn't carry a lot of it, even a 10,000th of it was enough to suppress Demon King Jiao and the others. Boom. This punch was like a supreme divine power descending into the world, and it seemed like heaven and earth would be shattered. Even though Demon King Jiao and the others' strength had reached the peak of the martial god continent, they couldn't resist this mighty power at all. In the next moment, the 4 of them kept retreating. The weakest of the 4, Holy Lord Azure Cloud, turned pale and trembled. Seeing this, Jun Haotian's lips curled into a cold smile. Of course, he had to pick on the weak ones. In the next moment, Jun Haotian moved his mind, and a bunch of freedom wings that contained mysterious power appeared behind Jun Haotian's back. In a flash, he disappeared from the spot. In the next moment, he appeared in front of Holy Lord Azure Cloud before Demon King Jiao and the others could react. I'll take your life while you're down. Without any mercy or fancy moves, Jun Haotian threw a punch at Holy Lord Azure Cloud's body. In just an instant, Holy Lord Azure Cloud's chest exploded, and even his heart was torn apart. However, this level of injury wasn't enough to kill someone of his level. But when he came into close contact with Jun Haotian's terrifying aura, Holy Lord Azure Cloud felt like an ant. Endless fear filled his heart, and he felt like he was going to die at any moment. Come and save me. Holy Lord Azure Cloud panicked when he thought of Alcade Holy Lord's tragic death. In the next moment, he completely ignored his identity as a Holy Lord and roared at his surroundings. At this moment, Demon King Jiao and the others naturally reacted. When they saw that Holy Lord Azure Cloud was about to die in Jun Haoyan's hands, they immediately attacked without hesitation. If Holy Lord Azure Cloud died, their strength would be weakened by another level. But in the next moment the entire heaven and earth turned into an icy hell. Even the space seemed to have frozen. Then Demon King Jiao and the others were shocked to find that the true origin in their bodies couldn't operate normally. Heavenly Heart Frost Arrogance Technique. At this moment, Jun Haoyan directly used this terrifying divine power that came from Jun Moyo. This remarkable ability came from the Divine Realm's Supreme Divine Lady of 4 stars, so its power was naturally extraordinary. In the next moment, Demon King Jiao and the others realized that their speed had become extremely slow. They could only watch as Holy Lord Azure Cloud's body was torn apart by Jun Haoyan. In just a breath's time, Holy Lord Azure Cloud's powerful body was completely destroyed by Jun Haoyan. Not to mention his head, there wasn't even a speck of flesh left. Only a rain of blood was left in the entire void, as well as Holy Lord Azure Cloud's shrill screams before his death. This scene sent chills down everyone's spines and made their hearts tremble. At this moment, Holy Lord Azure Cloud had died. Today this was the second Holy Lord that had died in Jun Haoyan's hands. At this moment, it was as if heaven and earth had stopped. Everyone was stunned by this scene. However, at this moment, Jun Haoyan suddenly turned around and slowly looked at Holy Lord Azure Cloud, who was the weakest among the 3 remaining people. This gaze was like the gaze of the Grim Reaper, chilling to the bone. When he met Jun Haoyan's gaze, Holy Lord Azure Cloud felt as if he was being stared at by an evil spirit. His entire body couldn't stop trembling. In the next moment, his psychological defenses collapsed. He ignored Demon King Jiao and the others and turned into a stream of light to escape towards the horizon. It was too terrifying. At this moment, Holy Lord Azure Cloud really didn't dare to face Jun Haoyan. He had never seen such a terrifying enemy before. However, the collapsed Holy Lord Azure Cloud didn't expect that this world had been completely sealed by the no-beginning bell. Now, with the no-beginning bell in his hand, he was like the master of this space. Unless an Emperor Realm legend appeared, no one would be able to contend against him. Looking at Holy Lord Azure Cloud who had turned into a stream of light and escaped, Jun Haoyan had a mocking look on his face. In the next moment, Jun Haoyan took out the sun-shooting divine bow. Jun Haoyan's true chi surged as he pulled the sun-shooting divine bow to its maximum. Shwa. In the next moment, a golden stream of light pierced through the void and blasted Holy Lord Azure Cloud's body. Boom. Holy Lord Azure Cloud's body exploded as his flesh and blood evaporated. The moment the arrow was shot, the sky changed color. Chapter 2. Cutting weeds and pulling out the roots. At this moment, the world suddenly turned dark. The air was filled with a thick smell of blood. A scarlet blood mist drifted between the heavens and the earth, causing one's heart to tremble. Holy Lord Azure Cloud had fallen. In front of everyone's eyes, he was killed by Hao Tian's Holy Sun with a single arrow. Just like the light-shaking Holy Sun and Holy Lord Azure Cloud, he was killed in front of everyone without any room for resistance. A Holy Lord of his generation had died such a miserable death. Today this was the 3rd Holy Lord that had fallen in the hands of Hao Tian's Holy Sun. Thinking of this, everyone's hands and feet turned cold. Originally, they had come here today to see if Langya Holy Land could protect itself under the siege of the 5 great forces. Would Langya Holy Land obediently hand over Hao Tian's Holy Sun under the coercion of the 5 great forces? But the result was beyond everyone's expectations. The defeated side was actually the 5 great forces that seemed to have the advantage in numbers. Even their strongest Holy Lord was killed by Hao Tian's Holy Sun in front of everyone. While everyone was sighing, they could not help but look at Hao Tian's Holy Sun in the sky with fear. Hao Tian's Holy Sun had killed 3 Holy Lords in a row. This Hao Tian's Holy Sun was really ruthless and did not leave any room for negotiation. Jun Haoyan's actions could be considered as creating an eternal enmity between Langya Holy Land and the other 3 Holy Lands. It could be said that from today onwards, Holy Lord Azure Cloud, Holy Lord Azure Cloud, and Holy Lord Azure Cloud would be enemies with Langya Holy Land for generations to come. Of course, this was nothing to the current Langya Holy Land. In this battle, the 3 Holy Lands had suffered heavy losses. Even their Holy Lord had died in the hands of Hao Tian's Holy Sun. Compared to the other Holy Lands, the 3 Holy Lands were much weaker. Moreover, even their strongest Holy Lord and their ultimate supreme weapon had been lost. How could the 3 Holy Lands fight against Langya Holy Land in the future? They might not even be able to keep their position as one of the 7 Holy Lands. Moreover, the outcome of this battle had caused a complete upheaval in Eastern Wilderness. From today onwards, the eastern wilderness, which had been stable for tens of thousands of years, would undergo earth-shattering changes. After today's battle, the entire martial god continent's martial artists knew that the rise of Langya Holy Land was unstoppable. In this battle, Langya Holy Land could be said to have stepped on the heads of the other three Holy Lands. They had directly risen to the top and displayed their unparalleled potential. No matter in the face of a great battle, all the disciples of Langya were united as one. They fought together without fear of death. It was also the cold-blooded scene of Hao Tian's holy son fighting against 5 top experts and killing 3 holy lords. All of this showed that in the future, Langya Holy Land would soar into the sky and even surpass the current Kunlun Holy Land. It would be the top holy land of the human race. At this moment, in the void, Jun Haotian slowly put away the sun-slaying divine bow. After killing 3 holy lords, Jun Haotian's expression did not change at all. Under everyone's gaze, he slowly turned around and looked at Demon King Jiao and Master of Fairy Fox. Compared to the 3 holy lords, Demon King Jiao and Master of Fairy Fox did not have supreme weapons to protect themselves. However, in terms of individual combat strength, Demon King Jiao and Master of Fairy Fox, who were from the Demon Clan, were much stronger. However, as the 2 supreme experts of the Demon Clan, Demon King Jiao and Master of Fairy Fox's expressions were extremely ugly at this moment. They were still stunned on the spot, looking at the bloody mist in the sky in disbelief. Until now they had yet to react. The joint attack of the 5 of them was actually easily broken by Hao Tian's holy son. With the terrifying strength that Hao Tian's holy son had just displayed, it seemed that no matter how many people there were, it would be useless. With the strength of the 2 of them, they were absolutely no match for him. After a moment of shock, Demon King Jiao and Master of Fairy Fox forced themselves to calm down. Holy son of Hao Tian, 3 holy lords have already died today. You should be satisfied. This matter ends here. We promise that we will never be enemies with you in the future. In the void, Demon King Jiao felt Jun Haotian's cold gaze and gritted his teeth. His tone was somewhat submissive. When Demon King Jiao said that, everyone present was incomparably shocked. As the most powerful person in the southern border, Demon King Jiao's status had always been incomparably high in the martial god continent. Especially in the southern border, his status was comparable to the most powerful person in the eastern wilderness, Holy Lord Linglong. However, this publicly acknowledged most powerful person in the southern border was actually admitting defeat to Hao Tian's holy son. This undoubtedly made everyone's jaws drop again. Since ancient times, the 9-headed divine flood dragon clan had been a large clan among the demon clan. Relying on their powerful forces, the 9-headed divine flood dragon had always been extremely arrogant and looked down on everyone. It was even more so in front of humans. They did not even care about human prodigies of the same cultivation level. But now, a peerless prodigy of the 9-headed divine flood dragon clan actually admitted defeat and begged for mercy in front of Hao Tian's holy son. This was something that had never happened in the history of the demon clan. This also indirectly reflected Hao Tian's holy son's strength. That's right, holy son of Hao Tian. The cause of this incident was entirely Alcade Holy Lord and the other 2. The 2 of us were merely participants. Now that the main culprit is dead, I think this matter should end here. After Demon King Jiao finished speaking, the Fairy Fox Monarch also spoke up. Her tone was the same as Demon King Jiao's. After the previous battle, they had completely experienced Jun Haotian's current strength. With the support of a supreme weapon, the 2 of them were no match for him at all. Instead of being beaten to death by Hao Tian's holy son like Alcade Holy Lord and the others, they would rather take the initiative to admit defeat and save their own lives. Of course, this was only temporary. With the pride of the 9-headed divine flood dragon clan and the Green Hill Fox clan, they definitely could not swallow the humiliation today. One had to know that the 9-headed divine flood dragon clan and the Green Hill Fox clan's roots were not in the martial god continent, but in the divine demon continent. As long as the 2 of them returned alive today, they would definitely be able to avenge today's humiliation by inviting the masters of their clans from the divine demon continent. In the divine demon continent, the 9-headed divine flood dragon clan and the Green Hill Fox clan both had extremely high status. There were even supreme masters of the Emperor Realm in their clans. The Emperor Realm was much stronger than the Immortal Realm cultivators. Masters of this realm were also known as legendary masters. Once an Emperor Realm master descended upon the Langya Holy Land, the Langya Holy Land would definitely not be able to stop them. At this moment, Demon King Jiao and the Fairy Fox Monarch had such an idea in their hearts. A wise man submits to circumstances. They would first save their lives today and bring people to massacre the Langya Holy Land in the future. Unfortunately, they would be wasting their efforts. When Jun Haoyin heard the two of them, he laughed mockingly. Ah, let this matter end here? I can't believe you can say that. When you said that you wanted to destroy the entire Langya Holy Land, why didn't you think of letting it go? Instead, you chose to kill everyone? In the next moment, Jun Haoyin raised his voice. His words were like a huge bell shaking the world. With his shrewdness, how could he not know what these two monster race cultivators were thinking in their hearts? Mere monster race cultivators with well-developed limbs dared to play tricks in front of him. They were simply courting death. If he spared these two guys this time, it would definitely be like letting a tiger return to the mountain. Demon King Jiao and the Fairy Fox Monarch came from the monster race, which was different from the three holy lands. Their roots were in the distant divine demon continent. After a cultivator's cultivation reached the immortal realm, they could cross the boundary of the world and reach other continents. But basically there was a long distance between each continent, and no one could easily cross it. However, if these two monster race cultivators were allowed to go and get reinforcements, they might really provoke the arrival of a powerful master. This was something that Jun Haoyin did not want to see. After this battle, the Langya Holy Land needed to recuperate and was not ready to fight again. Therefore, Jun Haoyin still looked at Demon King Jiao and the Fairy Fox Monarch coldly and said slowly, "Today neither of you can escape." As he spoke, Jun Haoyin once again showed the world his unparalleled dominance. Even in the face of the monster race cultivators who had already surrendered, he was still unmoved and did not take a step back. In Jun Haoyin's heart, only by killing these two monster race cultivators could he ensure the stability of the Langya Holy Land for a while. Holy Son of Hao Tian, you have to think carefully. Whether it is the nine-headed Divine Dragon clan or the Green Hill Fox clan, we are all big clans in the Divine Demon continent. If you insist on killing us, you will have to bear the endless anger of the monster race behind us. By then, the Langya Holy Land will not be able to bear it. Holy Son of Hao Tian, please think twice before you act. Don't become the eternal sinner of the Langya Holy Land. Seeing that the Holy Son of Hao Tian was stubborn and showed no signs of backing down, Demon King Jiao could not help but be furious. As a member of the noble nine-headed Divine Dragon clan, he had already humbled himself and admitted defeat, but the Holy Son of Hao Tian still refused to give up. He was really going too far. However, he had never thought that if the Langya Holy Land was in danger of being destroyed at this moment, would they show mercy? Cut the weeds and dig up the roots. This was the first rule of a cultivator. This was how the world worked. When you had great power but did not eliminate the future troubles, the one who would be destroyed in the future was very likely to be yourself. What Jun Haoyin wanted to do at this moment was to cut the weeds and dig up the roots. If Demon King Jiao and the Fairy Fox Monarch did not die, there would be endless trouble in the future. Because behind them stood the Divine Demon Continent, a world ranked in the top 20 of the 3,000 worlds. In the Divine Demon Continent, there were not only legendary existences of the Emperor Realm, but also Saint King Realm Masters. As such, Jun Haoyin would not let Demon King Jiao and the Fairy Fox Monarch leave alive today. It's useless to say more. When you attacked the Langya Holy Land, today's result was destined. Looking at Demon King Jiao and the Fairy Fox Monarch, Jun Haoyin said ruthlessly. In the next moment, Jun Haoyin made his move decisively. He had to get rid of these two monster race giants before the power of the Saraira disappeared. With the support of the Without Beginning Bell, he had reached his strongest state at this moment. Demon King Jiao's immortal and undying realm cultivation was nothing in his eyes. The wings behind Jun Haoyin spread out as divine light shone from his body. His killing intent was overwhelming. He's going too far. Fairy Fox Monarch, let's fight it out with him. I don't believe he can maintain his current strength forever. Seeing this scene, Demon King Jiao and the Fairy Fox Monarch looked at each other and had no choice but to attack in anger. They did not believe that Jun Haoyin's strength was endless. Relying on external power, sooner or later, there will be a moment when it will be used up. Boom. Then, the three of them collided and burst out a vast brilliance that was even more dazzling than the sun. Everyone looked at the scene in front of them and was shocked to the point of numbness. They did not know what to say. In the distance, Gu Yuehuang helplessly shook her head when she saw this scene. This guy, no matter when and who he faced, was always so strong. As for the people of the Langya Holy Land, they looked at the scene in front of them with incomparable nervousness. They knew that as long as the Holy Sun defeated the two giants of the monster race, the Holy Land would be safe. Not only would the Langya Holy Land solve the current crisis, but its reputation would also rise to a new level. At this time, in the hearts of all the disciples and elders of the Langya Holy Land, Jun Haoyin's position had surpassed everything. He was the only Holy Lord in the future. The void trembled, the heaven and earth shook, and endless divine light shone. The final battle was coming and everyone was paying attention. However, some of the experts had already guessed the result. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. At this moment, with such terrifying strength and the protection of a supreme weapon, how could the Holy Son of Haoyin be defeated? Even if Demon King Jiao had the unparalleled strength of the immortal realm, he was definitely not a match for the Holy Son of Haoyin. This was the thought in the minds of the experts in the Langya Holy Land who were watching from the outside. In their opinion, the key to this battle was when the Holy Son of Haoyin's strength would run out. Naturally, they also knew that the Holy Son of Haoyin was able to possess such terrifying strength with the help of an external object. Relying on the power of external objects sooner or later would be exhausted. In this battle, Demon King Jiao only had one way to fight. That was to stall for time. As long as he could hold on until the Holy Son of Haoyin's strength ran out, he would have a chance. At that time, even if he could not kill the Holy Son of Haoyin who had a supreme weapon, he could still escape unscathed. Without the power of external forces, the Holy Son of Haoyin's strength would return to the second layer of the Transcendence realm. With that kind of strength, he would not be able to use a supreme weapon for a long time. It had to be said that the power of the supreme weapon in Jun Haoyin's hands was too strong. Demon King Jiao almost could not muster up the courage to fight. This kind of power could only be suppressed by an Emperor Realm Master who also had a supreme weapon. Supreme weapons were also divided into different grades, and the one in Jun Haoyin's hands was definitely the top grade. At this moment, the Holy Son of Haoyin, Jun Haoyin, stood in the void condescendingly. Above his head, the without beginning bell continued to cast down tens of thousands of rays of light, each of which was extremely dazzling. These multicolored lights automatically revolved around Jun Haoyin, protecting his body so that he would not be harmed in the slightest. In the void, a vast amount of true qi burst out from his body. As giants of the monster race, Demon King Jiao and Heavenly Fox King were not to be trifled with. Compared to Alcade Holy Master and the other two Holy Masters, Demon King Jiao and Heavenly Fox King were naturally much stronger. With the powerful physique of the monster race, very few human race cultivators of the same realm could suppress them. But now, even with the two giants of the monster race joining forces, they could not shake Jun Haoyin at all. This is not good. The supreme weapon on this brat's body is like a tortoise shell. What should we do, King Jiao? Heavenly Fox King frowned when he saw that he could not shake Jun Haoyin at all after using his full strength to launch a shocking attack. Under the protection of the supreme weapon, Heavenly Fox King's supreme divine ability was like a stone sinking into the sea, unable to cause any threat at all. It was like punching cotton. Heavenly Fox King had never encountered such a frustrating battle before. If it were any other time, even if the Holy Son of Haoyin had the cultivation of the immortal 10,000 longevity realm, he would not take him seriously. But now, with the supreme weapon in hand, the Holy Son of Haoyin had rendered him helpless. Don't fight him head-on. Fight him and stall for time. Hearing this, Demon King Jiao frowned slightly. He knew Heavenly Fox King's difficulties. But even with his cultivation of the immortal 10,000 longevity realm, he could not shake the Holy Son of Haoyin at all. In front of the Holy Son of Haoyin, he could only be beaten up passively. This was the power of the supreme weapon. No matter who it was, as long as they could activate the supreme weapon, they could break the balance. It was also because of the supreme weapon that the holy lands and empires could be immortal for countless years. And Jun Haoyin took full advantage of this. What he wanted was to use the supreme weapon to protect himself. This was because he knew very well that even with the help of the 18 Venerables' Great Salvation Immeasurable Relic, it would be difficult for him to kill Demon King Jiao. Therefore, Jun Haoyin used the without beginning bell to protect himself and completely ignore the opponent's attack. This could save him a lot of trouble. Boom! In an instant, thousands of golden scales around Demon King Jiao's body trembled and burst out with endless light, as if they were going to pierce through his eyes. Trying to stall for time? Realizing the purpose of the two, Jun Haoyin laughed. He naturally knew what Demon King Jiao was planning. As long as the power in his body dissipated, it would be difficult for him to activate the supreme weapon with his cultivation of the Transcendence realm. At that time, the surrounding space that had been sealed by the supreme weapon would become weak. They could then use their power to break the seal and escape. Unfortunately, Jun Haoyan would not give them the chance at all. In the next moment, a pair of pure white divine wings of freedom appeared on his back once again. Jun Haoyan used the same trick again. In an instant, he turned into a stream of light and directly appeared in front of Heavenly Fox King. At this moment, Jun Haoyan did not hold back at all. He directly activated all the vital essence in his body and even mobilized the power of the immortal bell to enhance his fist. At this moment, Jun Haoyan seemed to have turned into the god of war again as he punched out. Each punch could tear apart thousands of miles of mountains and rivers and shatter meteorites. It was extremely terrifying. Faced with this sudden attack, Heavenly Fox King could not resist at all. In just an instant, Jun Haoyan threw out countless punches, all landing on Heavenly Fox King's body. Even though Heavenly Fox King was from the Demon Clan and had an unparalleled physical body, under Jun Haoyan's terrifying fist prints, it was impossible for him to resist. Even Heavenly Fox King's defense had reached its limit. His shoulder directly exploded, and a bloody mist appeared in the sky. When Demon King Jiao saw this scene, his expression changed drastically. He immediately swooped over and continuously activated his terrifying divine ability. However, at this moment, Jun Haoyan did not resist at all. He grabbed Heavenly Fox King and kept punching. Puff puff puff. In the end, Heavenly Fox King's body completely exploded, leaving only his head to escape. He was not in the immortal realm yet. If his head was destroyed, he would die. It was also at this moment that Jun Haoyan channeled all his strength and stepped on Heavenly Fox King's head. In the next moment, Heavenly Fox King's head directly exploded, and he died. 4 of the supreme powerhouses of the 5 major forces were killed instantly. Ah, holy son of Haoyan, I want you dead. Seeing the tragic death of Heavenly Fox King, Demon King Jiao was furious. His entire body suddenly burst out with golden divine light. In the next moment, a 4-headed divine dragon that was more than 100,000 feet long appeared, covering the sky and the sun. It looked down at the sky, and its demonic aura almost broke through the imprisonment of the supreme weapon. Fortunately, Jun Haoyan immediately made a move at the critical moment, which stabilized the situation. However, at this moment, Demon King Jiao's demonic body also collided with his body. Dong. Jun Haoyan's expression changed. His internal organs were actually trembling. Demon King Jiao's attack just now almost broke through his defense. This was already a move that was close to the level of an Emperor Realm powerhouse. Countless people watched the scene in front of them with their hearts in turmoil. At the same time, it was also at this moment that Jun Haoyan shrunk the immortal bell and completely let go of its defense. Demon King Jiao obviously saw this scene and immediately swooped down again. This time he wanted to kill Jun Haoyan. However, Jun Haoyan was fearless. He used the last of his strength to communicate with the immortal bell again. In an instant, the bell rang again. This time, Demon King Jiao no longer had the protection of his supreme weapon. Dong. The sound of the immortal bell shook the heavens. An incomparably vast and majestic aura directly descended on Demon King Jiao's body. At this moment, cracks began to appear on his demonic body. This was an attack that belonged to the supreme weapon, and it was also Jun Haoyan's final attack. It surpassed all the previous attacks and completely shattered everything about Demon King Jiao. At this moment, in the eyes of countless people, the heavenly dragon directly shattered, and even Demon King Jiao's primordial spirit turned into nothingness. Chapter 207. A scarlet rain of blood fell from the void, dyeing the entire world red. Everyone looked up at the sky. Their faces turned pale when they saw this scene. At this moment, there was no one left alive in the sky. The 3 holy lords of the eastern wilderness and the demon clan had all disappeared. Even Demon King Jiao, who was the most powerful among them, had been reduced to the point where his primordial spirit had been reduced to ashes. The blood rain and golden scales that were falling from the sky were proof that he had once existed in this world. At the end of the sky, Jun Haoyan stood alone. He looked down at the countless people below him, displaying his peerless strength and dominance. At this moment, he was like a supreme emperor who could suppress the world and sweep away all the supreme existences who despised imperial power. After this battle, regardless of whether it was the younger generation or those who had been famous for a long time, they all held Jun Haoyan in awe. In this world, unparalleled strength was the only way to intimidate everyone. And in this battle, Jun Haoyan had displayed his strength to the world. At this moment, he had already killed several of the most powerful cultivators of the 5 major forces. At this moment, the people who were left were just a bunch of mobs. Even the supreme weapon had fled in fear. What could these people do? At this moment, Jun Haoyan also slowly turned his gaze to the lucky survivors. But, feeling Jun Haoyan's gaze, the people of the 5 major forces suddenly felt their scalps go numb. It was as if they were being stared at by an extremely ferocious demon. At this moment they were extremely fearful of Jun Haoyan. They were afraid that Jun Haoyan would kill them if they did not agree with him. After all, the holy son of Hao Tian had mercilessly killed even the holy lords. Moreover, the elders and disciples of the various factions were probably like ants in the eyes of the holy son of Hao Tian. In the face of such a powerful Jun Haoyan, they did not dare to resist. Even their leader, the holy lord, had died. What kind of storm could they stir up? Thinking of this, the remaining members of the 5 major forces could only lower their heads under Jun Haoyan's gaze and await Jun Haoyan's execution. However, Jun Haoyan looked at them without any change in his expression. As usual, he was as calm as an ancient well. Killing 5 Holy Lord-level existences in succession didn't seem to affect him in the slightest. It was as if he had done something extremely strange. Holy Son of Haoyan, we hope that Lord Holy Son can show mercy and spare our lives. Under Jun Haoyan's domineering gaze, one of the supreme elders of the Green Cloud Holy Ground could not help but speak up. At this moment he did not have the bearing of a Holy Land elder at all. His attitude was extremely humble and even his voice was trembling slightly. In the face of death, how many people could maintain a calm state of mind? With the current strength of the Langya Holy Land, they could easily wipe out the remaining 5 forces in one fell swoop. Everyone at the scene believed that the Holy Son of Haoyan, who had a supreme weapon, definitely had the strength to do so. However, when Jun Haoyan heard the Supreme Elder's words, he smiled faintly. The main culprit has been executed. As for how to deal with you, I, the Holy Son, have no say in it. After saying this, Jun Haoyan looked at Tao Xian who was at the side. After all, Tao Xian was the true leader of the Langya Holy Land. When Tao Xian heard Jun Haoyan's words, he looked at him in surprise. Then he understood what Jun Haoyan meant. In this battle, the Langya Holy Land had displayed unparalleled strength that was enough to shock the entire eastern wilderness. However, Tao Xian knew that this was just on the surface. The Langya Holy Land was only strong on the outside but weak on the inside. Jun Haoyan's strength, which had been enhanced by external items, would soon disappear. At that time he would not be as powerful as he was now. Moreover, although the supreme weapons of the 3 holy lands had fled in fear, they had spirits. Sooner or later they would take the initiative to return to the Holy Land. A Holy Land with a supreme weapon would be very difficult to deal with. It would be even more difficult for the Langya Holy Land to deal with the 2 demon clans in the southern region. Although these forces no longer had their strongest cultivators, they still had their hidden trump cards. Moreover, everyone in the Langya Holy Land was injured to varying degrees. If they rashly continued to fight, it would backfire and put everyone in the eastern wilderness in danger. Of course, the most important point was that other than Jun Haoyan, no one else could control the fairy bell. Thinking of this, Tao Xian nodded slightly and looked at the people from the 5 forces. You wanted to destroy the Langya Holy Land. It is impossible not to pursue this matter. Although the main culprit has been punished, this matter is not over yet. The Langya Holy Land will definitely issue a verdict to the 5 forces in the future, but not now. You can go back and wait. Tao Xian actually allowed the people from the 5 forces to go back first. However, he did not say that he would not pursue this matter. He just had not thought it through yet. Especially for the 3 holy lands, their roots were in the eastern wilderness. Even if they wanted to escape, where could they go? As for the southern region demon clans, they did not care at all. Whether it was the 9-headed serpent dragon or the 9-tailed fox king, their roots were in the divine demon continent. Now that the 2 strongest were dead, the remaining ones could not do anything at all. To kill them or not to kill them was just a matter of thought. Moreover, Tao Xian's decision represented another layer of meaning. He wanted the 5 forces to go back, although he had not announced what the punishment would be. However, in reality, everyone knew that if they were allowed to go back, they would not be eradicated. It could be said that to a certain extent, it reduced the panic in their hearts and calmed them down. Thank you, the Holy Lord of Langya. Thank you, the Holy Son of Haoyan. Thank you, the Holy Lord of Langya. Thank you, the Holy Son of Haoyan. After hearing Tao Xian's words, the people from the 5 forces were overjoyed. Some of the primordial soul dharma powerhouses even wanted to kneel down on the spot. To them this was a chance at life. How could they not be excited? After thanking Tao Xian and Jun Haoyan, they hurriedly left without looking back. As for the corpses of the 3 holy lords and the 2 demon overlords, no one cared about them. No matter how strong you were when you were alive and how many countries came to congratulate you, as long as you were dead, there would be nothing left. A person's death was like an extinguished lamp. In this world where the strong preyed on the weak, it was extremely true. Jun Haoyin looked at the scene in front of him and did not feel anything. This was because many people had died at his hands. It was not the first time he had seen this. At this moment, Tao Xian appeared beside him. The latter seemed to have sensed something and immediately looked in another direction. It was where the other forces were watching the battle. All the people from the major forces were trembling in fear. Some of them even tensed up. They were really afraid. They were afraid that the holy son of Haoyin would not be enough after clearing out the 5 forces. He even wanted to target them. The holy son of Haoyin now was truly unstoppable. Translator. Nioibo Studio Editor. Nioibo Studio. At this moment, everyone's heart was extremely complicated. This was especially so for those who did not think highly of the holy ground of Langya. It was not that they did not have a shadow behind the 5 forces. It was just that they did not officially participate. Now, the holy son of Haoyin's gaze seemed to have seen through everything. It made people feel a little guilty. However, for the other forces who did not participate in this matter, they were not very afraid. Even so, because of Jun Haoyin, they could not help but be surprised. Jun Haoyin's performance was too terrifying. He was almost invincible. No one present was a match for him. Without the holy son of Haoyin's permission, no one present dared to leave. It would be over if they were targeted by the holy son of Haoyin. Some people even sighed at this time. Because of the rise of the holy son of Haoyin, the Langya holy ground seemed to have reached another peak. The most important thing was that the holy son of Haoyin had not yet become a great person. If he really grew up in the future, how powerful would he be? As for whether the holy son of Haoyin would die halfway, almost no one thought so. After all, the holy son of Haoyin had a supreme weapon in his hands. With that invincible supreme weapon protecting him, there was probably no one in the entire Wuxian continent who could threaten his life. Therefore, when Jun Haoyin looked over, everyone no longer looked at him as a young genius like before. Instead, they looked at him as a true powerhouse who placed Jun Haoyin on the same level as himself. Or even an even higher status. Everyone. At this time, Jun Haoyin opened his mouth and attracted everyone's attention once again. His purple robe fluttered in the wind, and there was not a speck of dust on it. He stood tall and straight like an emperor, not like someone who had experienced a great battle. At this moment he was like the most eye-catching person in the world, the true protagonist of the world. In a month, the Langya Holy Ground will be holding a grand event. I hope that everyone can come. Once this was said, everyone present was stunned. What did the Langya Holy Ground mean by holding a grand event? Everyone was deep in thought, trying to figure out the meaning of this sentence. When the Jade Lake's sacred leader heard this, a smile appeared on her face. She then spoke slowly. All right, the Linglong Holy Ground will definitely pay a visit. After seeing the Linglong sacred leader's attitude, everyone did not hesitate. They all said that they would pay a visit in a month's time and bring gifts. After the Linglong sacred leader's words, most of the people present understood the meaning of Jun Haoyin's words. The Langya Holy Ground was holding a grand event to tell the entire Wuxian continent. After the great battle, the Langya Holy Ground was completely different from before. Even the alliance of the 5 forces had failed. They were completely defeated by the Langya Holy Ground. At this moment, the Langya Holy Ground had surpassed the past and reached a new peak. Because of the Holy Son of Haoyin and the invincible supreme weapon in his hands, the Langya Holy Ground had reached the peak again. It might be the most powerful force after the Kunlun Holy Ground. Moreover, the Langya Holy Ground had also revealed another point. The Langya Holy Ground could let bygones be bygones for those who came to attend the grand event. They could even rely on the Holy Ground. One had to know that Jun Haoyin had just defeated the 5 experts. That was an earth-shattering power. No one dared to go against the Langya Holy Ground at this moment. Everyone knew that this grand event was not as simple as a gathering. It was also a show to the other forces that the Langya Holy Ground was no longer a force that could be easily bullied. It was like a newly established dynasty that had to receive tributes from foreign countries and the 9 states to congratulate them. It was a flourishing time. The Langya Holy Ground needed a chance like this to influence the entire Wuxian continent once again. And all of this was because of one name, Haoyin Holy Son. After everyone understood this, they all declared that they would attend the grand event. At that time, the power of the Langya Holy Ground would be displayed. Gu Yuehuang stood beside the Jade Lake's sacred leader. She was in a daze. One had to know that the holy son of Jiang Haoyin was only competing with the younger generation a few months ago. How long had it been since then? Was this the true meaning of a prodigy? Compared to the holy son of Jiang Haoyin, she was indeed much weaker. Yue Huang, if you have the chance in the future, interact more with the holy son of Jiang Haoyin. At this moment, the Jade Lake sacred leader's voice appeared in Gu Yue Huang's mind. Gu Yue Huang was slightly surprised. She didn't quite understand. In the future, this person might be on the same level as the Linglong sacred leader. When she heard this, Gu Yue Huang was completely stunned. She couldn't believe it. One had to know that although the Jade Lake sacred leader didn't compete with the other forces, she was actually very powerful. A female sacred leader was only second to the Linglong sacred leader in terms of reputation. She had extremely high standards. And now, the Jade Lake sacred leader was comparing the holy son of Jiang Haoyin to the Linglong sacred leader. This evaluation was extremely shocking. The Linglong sacred leader had become famous 3,000 years ago. She was known as the most powerful prodigy in the past 50,000 years. Even the top prodigy of the eastern wilderness 30,000 years ago, Bai Minghan, the holy son of Langya, couldn't compare to her. This was also recognized by the entire Wuxian continent. No one would deny the Linglong sacred leader's power. In the Jade Lake sacred leader's eyes, the holy son of Jiang Haoyin was the next Linglong sacred leader. Perhaps he was the only holy son of Jiang Haoyin. Is he really that powerful? Gu Yue Huang was deep in thought. She originally thought that the gap between her and the holy son of Jiang Haoyin was only a little bit. Now it seemed like the gap between heaven and earth was insurmountable. Let's go. It's time for us to go back. Let's see how the Langya sacred ground will be in a month's time, the Jade Lake sacred leader said again. She sighed in her heart. It had been a long time since she had seen such an outstanding young man like the holy son of Jiang Haoyin. After the Jade Lake sacred leader left, everyone around the Langya sacred ground prepared to leave. Everyone bowed slightly to Tao Xian and Jun Haoyin as a sign of respect. Then they turned into flowing light and disappeared. All kinds of auras dissipated between heaven and earth. After the period it took an incense stick to burn, the entire place fell silent once again. And the Langya sacred ground returned to its original state. Boom. At that moment, all kinds of divine light appeared around Jun Haoyin. The 18 Buddhist Bantis behind him all disappeared. A Saraira appeared in his body. The 18 Buddhist Bantis engraved on it also disappeared. This meant that the small Thunder Temple's treasure had temporarily lost its effect. And Jun Haoyin returned to the second level of the primordial soul Dharma power. Although Jun Haoyin yearned for the power of the fifth level of the immortal realm, he knew what his true cultivation level was. Moreover, he was very confident. He believed that it wouldn't be long before he broke through to the immortal realm and became a powerful figure. Chapter 208. Jun Haoyin had only used a little more than a year to cultivate from a small martial artist in the Qi condensation realm to a powerful martial artist in the transcendence realm. This speed could be said to be unprecedented. In the previous battle, because of the relic, he had experienced the feeling of an immortal realm martial artist in advance. That feeling made him very confident that he would not be able to reach that realm soon. In the 3,000 worlds, any martial artist whose cultivation had reached the immortal realm, they were all known as eternal giants. This was because after reaching the immortal realm, a martial artist's lifespan could be extended to more than 10,000 years. Anyone who reached the immortal realm's 5 realms could be called an immortal giant. This was an existence that had completely broken away from the boundaries of mortals and was not human. The level of one's life had increased by a level. At this moment, the relic's effect had already disappeared, and Jun Haoyin's strength had already recovered to the second level of the transcendence realm. After losing that power, Jun Haoyin did not feel any reluctance. From the beginning to the end, Jun Haoyin had clearly warned himself that this power was only borrowed for a while and did not belong to him at all. He did not lose himself in this external power. Naturally, Tao Xian also felt the change in Jun Haoyin's aura. He knew that this was probably the end of that external power's time. However, after Jun Haoyin's immortal realm aura disappeared, Jun Haoyin's aura instantly returned to the second level of the transcendence realm. When he saw Jun Haoyin's true cultivation, Tao Xian was stunned again. Thinking of Jun Haoyin's cultivation speed, Tao Xian could not help but sigh in his heart. Such a terrifying cultivation speed would probably shock the entire continent. Back then, when I made you great heaven's holy son, this was the wisest decision of my life. At this moment, Tao Xian looked at Jun Haoyan with a gratified smile on his face. The holy son of Haoyan was like a god descending from the heavens in this battle that threatened to wipe out a sect. His aura suppressed the entire area, and he killed 5 holy lords in succession. His unparalleled elegance had completely stolen the limelight from the holy lord of Langya and Tao Xian. But regarding this, Dao Yin did not have a trace of dissatisfaction in his heart. Because Haoyan Holy Son's performance was even more outstanding, it proved how good Tao Xian's judgment was. You flatter me, Holy Lord. I'm just doing what I should do as the Holy Son of Langya. Hearing this, Jun Haoyan was neither arrogant nor impatient. This time, the Langya sacred ground did not want to call him out even at the risk of having their sect destroyed. Jun Haoyan naturally took note of this friendship and remembered it in his heart. If others respect me, I will respect them tenfold. The Holy Lord of Langya treated him with sincerity. He, Jun Haoyan, was naturally not an ungrateful person. Hearing Jun Haoyan's words, Tao Xian smiled with satisfaction. With Jun Haoyan's attitude in this battle, it would not be long before the Langya sacred ground, led by Jun Haoyan, took another step towards greater glory. Then Jun Haoyan and Tao Xian slowly turned around and looked at the Langya sacred ground disciples behind them. When they saw Jun Haoyan's gaze, all the Langya sacred ground disciples, including the elders and the various temple masters, bowed to Jun Haoyan. Greetings, Holy Son. Greetings, Holy Son. Greetings, Holy Son. Countless people spoke in unison like a tsunami. Everyone was very, very pious. At this moment, Jun Haoyan's status in the Langya sacred ground had reached the highest point. In terms of popularity, he was not inferior to the Holy Lord of Langya and Tao Xian. He might even surpass them. This was a symbol of spirituality. Even if Jun Haoyan announced in public that he would take over the position of the sacred leader, perhaps no one would choose to reject him. Unparalleled strength was the only standard in this world. Although Jun Haoyan's strength had not reached the immortal realm, but they firmly believed that with the Holy Son's talent, it was only a matter of time before he became an eternal giant. When Jun Haoyan heard their words, he smiled and gestured for everyone to stand up. Now the crisis in the Langya sacred ground had been completely resolved. Then Jun Haoyan, Tao Xian, and the elders and temple masters of the Langya sacred ground walked toward the interior of the Langya sacred ground. The results of this battle would soon spread throughout the entire Wuxian continent and even to other continents. And the Langya sacred ground was going to organize the Langya sacred ground grand event, which would cause the Langya sacred ground to be despised by everyone again. And because of what had happened today, the Langya sacred ground had an unprecedentedly strong cohesion. Now, what the Langya sacred ground needed to do was to completely stand at the top. Divine Monster Continent, 9-headed Divine Dragon Clan. There was a demonic aura here, and Haoyan's vitality was vibrating. It was extremely terrifying. Tens of thousands of black sacred mountains joined together, looking as if there was no end to them. And on top of these black mountains, there was a temple covered in golden divine light. It was 9 floors tall. Countless rays of light hung down from it, looking sacred and majestic. The place in front of them was one of the strongest forces in the Divine Monster Continent. The temple floating in the void was called the 9 Heavens Temple, and it was the headquarters of the 9-headed Divine Dragon Clan in the Divine Monster Continent. In the 9 Heavens Temple, every floor was occupied by members of the 9-headed Divine Dragon Clan. Every one of them was extremely powerful. At that moment, a golden ray of light suddenly appeared, shuttling back and forth among the tens of thousands of black sacred mountains. Not long after, the golden ray of light rushed to the highest floor of the temple. This was a majestic hall, and it was engraved with all kinds of ancient and complex characters of the demon clan. The hall was tens of thousands of feet tall, and it shot straight into the void. Stars revolved around it, and endless starlight hung down. And above the hall, a statue of the 9-headed Divine Dragon Clan stood, soaring in the 9 heavens, and it was extremely powerful. Even an undying realm expert would be suppressed with a single glance. Legend had it that the 9-headed Divine Dragon Clan's ancestor had personally carved it, and the ancestor of the 9-headed Divine Dragon Clan was also a supreme existence. And that golden ray of light directly bypassed this place and rushed to the front of the hall. Then the golden light dissipated and a middle-aged man walked out. He looked very majestic, and he actually had some similarities to Demon King Jiao. In particular, the aura that he exuded was extremely majestic, and he had reached the peak of the undying realm. But such an existence actually knelt down in the hall and kowtowed. Greetings to the ancestor, I have something to report. His voice was very loud and he was very respectful. Because the person he was about to meet was the strongest ancestor of the nine-headed divine dragon clan. He was an ancient existence known as one of the top 10 experts in the divine monster continent, and he was extremely terrifying. Enter. It was also at this moment that an old voice sounded in the hall, as if it could penetrate layers of space and reach the heavens. The middle-aged man immediately kowtowed again, and then pushed the door open and entered. The hall was very large and spacious, and people standing here were like ants. The pillars in the hall were like stone pillars that supported the sky, and they were indomitable. And at the end of the hall, there was an ancestor who was dozens of meters tall sitting upright. His golden eyes seemed to be able to see through everything. The majesty that exuded from his body could even make the entire world tremble. Speak. The giant-like ancestor spoke again. His eyes were like the sun looking down on everything. Even the middle-aged man who had reached the half-step emperor realm seemed to be unable to bear it. The middle-aged man knelt down again and prostrated himself on the ground. Ancestor Ao Liang was killed in the martial god continent. Ao Liang was the real name of Demon King Jiao. And just as the middle-aged man finished speaking, the ancestor who was sitting on the throne stood up directly. For a moment, the entire Nine Heavens temple shook, as if a natural disaster had descended. Chapter 2, Heaven's 5 Decrements. A vast majesty suppressed everything, as if the wrath of the heavens had descended. At this moment, the entire Nine Heavens temple was constantly shaking, and all kinds of lightning fell from the void. Seeing this scene, all the clansmen of the nine-headed divine dragon clan were shocked, and in the next moment, they directly knelt on the ground. This terrifying and peerless pressure was like a heavenly tribulation, causing their faces to turn pale and their bodies to tremble. A moment later, all the clansmen of the nine-headed divine dragon clan flew out of Nine Heavens temple. They knelt down in the void, begging for mercy from the nine-headed divine dragon clan's ancestor. What's going on? Why did the ancestor suddenly get angry? The ancestor has been in seclusion for thousands of years. What exactly happened to make him so angry? What is it? This is the first time I've seen the ancestor get angry in thousands of years. All the clansmen of the nine-headed divine dragon clan knelt down and shouted in their hearts in confusion. The nine-headed divine dragon clan was one of the great clans of the heavenly monster continent. Once the ancestor got angry, the entire continent would naturally be shaken. No one could withstand the ancestor's anger. At this moment, in the highest hall of Nine Heavens temple, the ancestor of the nine-headed divine dragon clan looked down at the middle-aged man below, his eyes filled with boundless anger. Speak, what's going on? As the ancestor of the nine-headed divine dragon clan, he was also one of the 10 great masters of the heavenly monster continent. He had been like this for tens of thousands of years. He always carried the pressure of a master. The heavenly monster continent was ranked in the top 20 of the 3,000 worlds. As one of the 10 great masters of the heavenly monster continent, his strength had reached the legendary emperor realm. In the heavenly monster continent, he was known as the nine-headed emperor. He was an emperor realm master, stronger than ordinary emperors. When an emperor got angry, it was true that mountains and rivers would collapse and mulberry fields would turn into oceans. Ao Liang, also known as Demon King Jiao, was one of the favorite descendants of the nine-headed divine dragon clan's ancestor. As the ancestor of the nine-headed divine dragon clan, he had countless descendants and thousands of direct descendants. However, Demon King Jiao was the most favored descendant of the nine-headed emperor. He had always valued this descendant of Demon King Jiao very much. Otherwise, he wouldn't have sent him to the martial god continent. In ancient times, the martial god continent was ranked much higher than the heavenly monster continent. Although the martial god continent had declined now, there must still be many big secrets hidden in it, which was also coveted by many worlds. Now, Demon King Jiao, the most favored descendant of the nine-headed emperor, was killed. How could he not be furious? Below, the middle-aged man felt the terrifying pressure emanating from the nine-headed emperor and his body trembled. He then told the emperor everything he had learned from the martial god continent. Liang died at the hands of Langya, holy land of the martial god continent? After hearing the middle-aged man's words, the nine-headed emperor suddenly frowned. Today, Langya Holy Land was only a small holy land of the human race. However, more than 100,000 years ago, the Lord of Langya was a famous figure in the 3,000 worlds. In the end, he was an existence that ascended to the god realm. Even the nine-headed emperor was a little afraid of such an existence. After all, he was a real existence. Even after so many years, the Supreme's remaining power was still there. Yes, it is said that he joined forces with De Yun of the Green Hill Fox clan to destroy the Langya Holy Land. In the end they were killed instead. The middle-aged man spoke again. He did not know who exactly killed the nine-headed divine dragon, so he could only say so. De Yun was the fairy fox monarch. The Green Hill Fox clan and the nine-headed divine dragon clan had been on good terms for generations. When they joined forces, they were one of the two great clans that should not be provoked in the heavenly monster continent. Does the Green Hill Fox clan know about this? The nine-headed emperor asked again. He was also a little cautious when it came to the inheritance of the Lord of Langya. Although the Lord of Langya had ascended more than 100,000 years ago, his remaining power was still there. They already know, and the nine-tailed emperor's intentions are clear. A debt of blood must be paid in blood. He had already received the news before this. In that case, we, the nine-headed divine dragon clan, cannot back down. The nine-headed sovereign opened his mouth. His golden eyes shone with golden light, making him look extremely terrifying. If the nine-headed divine dragon clan and the Green Hill Fox clan joined forces, it would be very easy for them to destroy a human holy land that only had one supreme artifact. Then what does the old ancestor mean? The middle-aged man spoke and asked immediately. He was Ao Liang's elder brother and the clan leader of the nine-headed divine dragon clan. But in fact, all the decisions of the nine-headed divine dragon clan had to be made by the nine-headed divine dragon old ancestor. Of course we must take revenge, but the time is not yet right. The nine-headed emperor said again. He would take revenge, but he did not act immediately. Hearing this, the clan leader of the nine-headed divine dragon clan frowned slightly. He knew that his old ancestor had always been extremely protective. In the heavenly monster continent he was even more infamous and terrifying. Now that his favorite descendant had been killed, why did he not want to take revenge immediately? The nine-headed sovereign seemed to have seen through his thoughts and sat back down on his throne. The martial god continent is supported by many supreme marks. It is easy to leave but very difficult to enter. It is almost impossible for existences above the emperor realm to descend. However, this emperor has already calculated that in less than 3 to 5 months, there will definitely be a change in the martial god continent, and the 5 decay of heaven and man will descend again. As soon as this was said, the clan leader of the nine-headed divine dragon clan trembled violently. The 5 decay of heaven and man was one of the most terrifying tribulations in the 3,000 worlds. Any world that could give birth to the 5 decay of heaven and man was ranked in the top 10 at the beginning of the world's existence. The martial god continent used to be ranked in the top 10 of the 3,000 worlds, so there would be a great tribulation every once in a while. However, this tribulation did not mean the destruction of the world. Instead, it meant rebirth and transformation. If the tribulation was successfully passed, then the great world would be shrouded in a supreme aura and blessed by the god realm. Then, many terrifying powerhouses would be born in a short period of time, and their ranking in the 3,000 worlds would rise rapidly. However, if they failed to pass the tribulation, they would continue to weaken. The martial god continent, which used to be ranked in the top 10 during ancient times, had been weakened to this day because it failed to pass the 5 decay of heaven and man 3 times. It was also because of this that there were not many supreme marks. The 5 decay of heaven and man could also be understood as the tribulation of the great 1,000 worlds. A great world like the heavenly monster continent did not rank in the top 10 during ancient times. Therefore, there was no great tribulation of the 5 decay of heaven and man. However, such a great tribulation was not a good thing. Because once the 5 decay of heaven and man happened, the entire martial god continent would be extremely weak, and the world barrier would completely disappear. At that time, the martial god continent would be in real danger. You're tuning in to the Han Lee's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.